You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1814. 1814 Chapter 406 Fishing Chiu Subscribe, 5. He had fought with Shirzun before and thought that he could win. In the end, they were only evenly matched. He had fought with many geniuses before and had even met a heaven roll powerhouse. The guy ranked 12th had his bones broken after being punched by someone. Coincidentally, Modwa Na had passed by and his opponent had run away. Otherwise, he would have been beaten to death. All of this made him famous. He had killed his way to the 12th level of the Earth Roll. The 7th level of Ling Yun realm. Of course, he couldn't compare to Modwa who was at the same realm as him. However, he was now the top genius on the Earth Roll among the incipient demons. Didn't the patriarch value him? Wasn't it enough? He laughed at himself. Perhaps it wasn't enough. The family he belonged to was a large family. The patriarch had successfully attained the Tao for more than 5,000 years. He had many descendants. By his generation, he had already blossomed and become a super-large family. He was the strongest in his generation, but in the previous generation, mountains and seas existed. Above that, there was the sun and moon. No matter how talented he was only Ling Yun, and could only fight against some low-level mountains and seas. To the patriarch, there hadn't been one or two such geniuses in his clan for so many years, unless they were on the heaven roll. I will grow stronger. Tian Duo said to himself. He would. He came to the heavenly battlefield with the determination to die, with the will to press forward. He would always be strong, so strong that even the patriarch valued him. He would also be so strong that Modwa would not ignore him anymore. Next target. The floating earth spirit. Tian Duo snorted coldly. That guy actually came here and killed a 5th-level mountain and sea realm warrior. It was surprising that he had killed his way to the 5th level on the Earth Roll. He had fought Huang Teng, who was 4th on the Earth Roll, and their strengths were similar. Huang Teng was only at the 6th level of Ling Yun realm, and Qin Fang, who was 3rd, had also fought before. He was slightly stronger than Tian Duo. The 5th-level floating earth spirit, he wanted to test the waters. Modwa said that his 5 elements are one. Is it true that the 5 elements are one? Tian Duo flipped through the floating earth spirit's information again and again. He talked to the heaven hunting pavilion and bought the floating earth spirit's information. When geniuses fought, it wasn't random killing. It was to find out the opponent's information and determine their strength, only then would there be a battle. Floating earth spirit. Tian Duo muttered to himself. It's you. It's hard to determine the whereabouts of this fellow right now. However, it doesn't matter. I'll find you. Su Yu roamed around 9-Star City for several days. He gathered all kinds of intelligence, including who the sun and moon from the various clans were, their strength, and where they lived. Also, did anyone obtain any good items recently? How did they sell them? And Tian Duo's whereabouts weren't considered secret. Su Yu had discovered it. That fellow, there was a rumor recently that he actually wanted to fight with the floating earth spirit. This was a rumor that he had released himself. From the looks of it, he wanted the floating earth spirit to take the initiative to appear and look for him. Su Yu's heart moved slightly. Floating earth spirit race. Floating earth spirit, I can also disguise myself. Perhaps, I can disguise myself as a floating earth spirit and appear in the sea area to deceive Tian Duo. As for the real floating earth spirit, that fellow was incomparably sinister. It would be strange if he appeared when Tendo was looking for him. What he was afraid of was that the floating earth spirit would find out about the news and guess that he was the one in disguise. That would be troublesome. It would be best to deceive the floating earth spirit as well. However, if that fellow were to shout for a few suns and moons to surround and kill me, it would be troublesome. Suyu sighed. It was very troublesome. Because he hadn't dealt with the floating earth spirit, he was now in great trouble. Even if the floating earth spirit didn't dare to show itself, if he pretended to be him, captured Tendo, obtained the treasure, and started auctioning it again, would the floating earth spirit think too much? Damn it! There was a possibility that it would think of this. That would be fatal. After capturing Tendo, perhaps we can discuss it with the floating earth spirit. Suyu's eyes flickered. Let's wait and see. Let's capture Tendo first. Soon, Suyu left the city. After choosing for a few days, he went to a sea area where there weren't many people. Using the appearance of the floating earth spirit, he fought with a demonic beast for a while before quickly disappearing. Not long after, news of the floating earth spirit's whereabouts reached Tendo's ears. A moment later, Tendo left the city. He went to look for the floating earth spirit. At the same time, in the only ancient city in 9-Star City, the floating earth spirit was cursing and swearing as he was recovering his vitality. In the past few days, he had been discovered by the stone man and had fought a few rounds. It was troublesome, so he had no choice but to hide in the ancient city. The ancient city was still safer. Of course, it was safer if that bastard Suyu did not come. Forget it, my luck hasn't been good recently. That bastard Suyu seems to be looking for me as well. I should hide first and talk later. I should find an ancient house to stay in for a few more days. Perhaps there might be some benefits. A genius like me can only obtain some benefits in an ancient house. Outside, I should let him wait for 10 days to half a month. At the same time, Shirzun also received news that the floating earth spirit had appeared in the sea area. Shirzun's head was a little numb. In the sea area? He ran so fast. I chased him all the way until I reached the ancient city. I thought that this guy had hidden in the ancient city. He actually ran to the sea area. Since that's the case, then I'll go look for you. Do you think that the sea area can stop me? Floating earth spirit, you're underestimating me too much. I'm a stone man that's not afraid of water. He turned around and chased after the sea area. The floating earth spirit must have used a trick to deceive him. No wonder there was no sound these 2 days. It turned out that he ran to the sea area. Damn earth lump. At this moment, the floating earth spirit did not know that the stone man chasing him had already run away. The floating earth spirit, who was relaxed and at ease, found an ancient house. While recuperating, he waited for an opportunity to appear. As for Suyu, at this moment, he had already set up an inescapable net. He was waiting for Tian Duo to take the bait and officially start his swindling plan. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1815. 1815 Chapter 407, The Ancient Invincible Corpse appeared. 1. In the sea. The stars were dotted and the waves were crashing. Tendo was walking in the air. His eyes were like torches and on his forehead, the flame symbol was obvious. The incipient demon clan. His fiery red long hair was draped over his shoulders and he looked exceptionally handsome. However, there was less sunlight and more coldness. In the sea, someone saw him and quickly retreated. He was a genius of the incipient demon race, an invincible descendant. Suyu felt that an invincible descendant was worthless. After 3 generations, it was even more worthless. But in reality, an invincible descendant was a golden signboard. Ordinary people did not dare to provoke him, even the Sun and Moon small clans. Small clans did not even have an invincible. How would they dare to provoke him? Has anyone seen the floating earth spirit? Tian Duo asked. The heaven hunting pavilion said that the floating earth spirit had lost its ranking. Now that it could not be detected, he could only look for it himself. Soon, a creature in the void said carefully, I seem to have seen it once in the northwest. However, I'm not sure if it's the floating earth spirit. The floating earth spirit is an earth spirit, but I can see that he can swim extremely fast in the water. Tian Duo laughed. Then there was no mistake. It was him. As expected, this fellow could really be one with the 5 elements. No wonder his earth spirit clan dared to come to the water region. If the floating earth spirit couldn't move about in the waters and even came to the waters, then that would be strange. But now, it wasn't strange at all. It could explain why that fellow had appeared in the waters. No wonder they couldn't find him. They didn't even know where he had killed a 5th-level mountain and sea realm expert. Thank you. I wouldn't dare. The creature who had spoken breathed a sigh of relief, and was a bit happy. To be able to speak to the incipient demon clan was enough to boast for a while. As for Tendo, he quickly flew northwest. Northwest, on a small floating island. Suyu had turned into an aborigine and concealed his aura. He waited silently and didn't choose to release his aura in a grand manner. He believed that Tendo would be able to find him. If he couldn't find him, then Tendo would be an idiot. He had basically revealed his whereabouts, but he still couldn't find him. This fellow didn't deserve to be on the list. Tian Duo. Tian Duo fought against the floating earth spirit, and both sides suffered heavy losses. The floating earth spirit retreated, and Tian Duo happened to break open an ancient space and took away an ancient quasi-invincible corpse. Suyu silently calculated in his heart. His calculations were very good. As for whether he could succeed or not, it would depend on his luck. Also, did Tian Duo have any Dao protectors with him? It shouldn't be. These fellows were all very arrogant and didn't fear death. Unless they really reached a dead end, they wouldn't even call for help. Forget it, let's take a look first. Suyu continued to hide. And at this moment, demonic chi rose in the surroundings. Tian Duo stepped through the air and looked around. The first thing he saw was the floating island. He frowned slightly and said coldly, "Floating earth spirit, come out and fight. I've discovered you." Silence. Tian Duo snorted coldly and punched out through the air. Rumble. With a loud sound, the floating island shook and waves swept over. On the floating island, Suyu fled to the bottom of the island. As a floating earth spirit, he would not take the initiative to fight. A floating earth spirit who took the initiative to fight was not a good floating earth spirit. Tian Duo frowned. "I really found you. Do you think I'm testing you?" His eyes flashed and a demonic light shot down to the bottom of the floating island. He shouted coldly, "Floating earth spirit, can you hide from me?" Boom! The rocks on the floating island exploded. At this moment, Suyu dove into the water and quickly sent a voice transmission. "Tian Duo, what are you doing? You and I don't interfere with each other's business. Don't look for trouble." With that, he turned into a stream of water and fled. Tian Duo's eyes lit up. "Water escape, floating earth spirit, you have indeed merged the 5 elements into one. No wonder you could kill a 5th-level mountain and sea realm warrior." He was pleasantly surprised. Suyu, on the other hand, shouted coldly, "You know that, and you still dare to provoke me? Tian Duo, don't court death." Tian Duo said excitedly, "I'm looking for you." Killing a 5th-level mountain and sea realm warrior, of course, was a display of support. Tian Duo's strength was slightly weaker than Qin Fang's. Qin Fang was probably able to deal with a 5th-level mountain and sea realm warrior, while Huang Teng was a little difficult. The difference between Tian Duo and Huang Teng wasn't too big. Although he wasn't confident in killing a 5th-level mountain and sea realm warrior, he didn't kill the floating earth spirit by himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't be ranked 5th on the earth roll. In Tendo's opinion, a floating earth spirit with the 5 elements as one should be as strong as him. It just happened to be the opponent he needed the most. This kind of opponent was also what he dreamed of. Don't think about running away. Tendo shouted in a low voice. Suddenly, a flame rose on his forehead, and a flame shot out. With a rumble, the seawater in front of Suyu was evaporated. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Suyu let out a low growl, and rays of golden light shot out from the water. It was extremely sharp. Kill. Tian Duo was not shocked but happy. It was really him. The earth spirit of the 5 elements was too interesting. He did not use any weapons. He took a step in the air and threw a punch. Bang! The golden light and the fist collided, causing the golden light to scatter and blood to appear on the fist. Tian Duo did not mind. In his joy, he quickly charged towards Suyu. This was what he wanted. Tian Duo, you insist on making things difficult for me. Tian Duo could not be bothered with him. Nonsense, I came to find you just to make things difficult for you. We are all geniuses, why are we looking for you? Don't you know? If I can kill you, I will kill you. If I can't kill you, I will fight you. It's that simple. The booming sounds continued, and the more Tendo fought, the happier he was and the more shocked he was. So powerful. The floating earth spirit with the 5 elements as one was much stronger than he had imagined. Water arrow, earth defense, metal kill, fire burn. On the ocean, one of the 2 geniuses was in the water, while the other was in the air. They kept on fighting and fighting. From all directions, some of the experts who heard the commotion didn't dare to approach. Many people watched the battle from afar. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1816. 1816 Chapter 407, The Invincible Ancient Corpse appeared. 2. In the distance. Someone exclaimed, Floating Earth Spirit, the 5 elements are one. Is the 5 elements clan preparing to unify again? No wonder he can be ranked 5th on the Earth roll, he's really strong. Tendo isn't bad either. Tendo isn't bad, but Tendo is an incipient demon and was born strong. The Earth spirits aren't as strong as the incipient demons, so the floating Earth spirit is ranked 5th. Tendo can only kill his way into 12. At that moment, an angry shout came from afar. 5 elements purgatory. In the next moment, countless aquatic plants grew in the water and turned into long whips that wrapped around Tendo and dragged him into the water. Then, the other 4 elements were activated. Earth walls, wood whips, sea of fire. Instantly, they formed a huge cage. Tendo punched and punched, causing the 5 elements purgatory to tremble. Suyu dragged his opponent and dived deep into the sea. The onlookers sighed again. He's trying to play up his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. In a fierce battle in the water, I don't think Tendo can win. He might even lose. This 5 elements purgatory is a method to trap people. It seems to be very strong. Tendo is trapped. They watched the battle from afar and didn't get close. In a battle between geniuses, if they got close, they would be looking for trouble. Perhaps the geniuses would give up on fighting each other and join forces to kill them. This place was filled with some Lingyun Mountain and Sea Realm cultivators. Those in the air had already fled, but there were no Sun and Moon Realm cultivators nearby. The Mountain and Sea Realm experts were not confident that they could win against these 2 geniuses joining forces. This was also the reason why Suyu chose to fight here. The moment Suyu's 5 elements purgatory appeared, it dragged Tendo into the water. He continued to dive. Tendo did not panic. As a top-tier expert, such a small matter was not difficult for him. Suyu's 5 elements purgatory was not as strong as he had imagined. It was not as strong as the floating earth spirits. The key was that his willpower was not as strong as the floating earth spirits. The floating earth spirit could be considered a pure civilized master, and its willpower was stronger than Su Yu's. When Su Yu used it, it could not be considered the real deal. Even so, Su Yu did not use his physical body, and he was on par with Tendo. This also proved that if the floating earth spirit went all out, Tendo was not his match. Floating earth spirit, do you think you can deal with me with such a small trick? Tian Duo sneered, devil's arrival. Tian Duo roared. Race skill. In the air, it was as if an ancient devil god had descended and instantly fused into his body. In the next moment, devil chi boiled, and Tian Duo's physical body instantly became 3 times stronger. Boom! The whip in the innermost part of the 5 elements purgatory broke. Su Yu was shocked. Mo Lin was so strong. He had increased his opponent's strength by at least 20%. Damn! I didn't know. I know it too. If I had known, I would have used it too. Also, the Celestials had a god transformation innate skill. He didn't use it. Su Yu had used the Celestials' innate skill, but he had never used the Celestials and demons. The god transformation in Mo Lin, on one hand, was because Su Yu wasn't used to using their innate skills, and on the other hand, he felt that at his level, this innate skill might not be of much use. But at this moment, seeing that Tian Duo's strength had become much stronger, Su Yu's heart stirred. This seemed to be a very special innate skill. It had the meaning of summoning an ancient devil god. Of course, it was definitely not the real ancient devil god. Perhaps the mark left by the ancient devil god in the heavens had been summoned into their bodies. At this moment, Tendo, who had used devil's arrival, was very powerful. He punched once again and broke through the second level of the 5 elements purgatory. He looked at Su Yu coldly. Is that all you have? It was not enough. When I break through the 5th level of the purgatory, I will take your life. Boom! Just like the ancient demonic god, Tendo did not use any weapons. He just punched and punched the 5 elements purgatory. At this moment, Su Yu was constantly dragging him down and releasing the power of the 5 elements. He was consolidating this temporary 5 elements purgatory. Strictly speaking, if Su Yu only had the combat strength of a civilized master, he would not be able to defeat this guy. Sooner or later, he would break the 5 elements purgatory. Of course, it was hard to say. Su Yu had many methods that he had not used yet. The God-expanding hammer was useless, the multi-divine language combat skills were useless. Now, he was only using the 5 elements divine art and the 5 elements divine language to deal with this guy. At this moment, Su Yu's physical body was 29. Just the strength of his acupuncture points alone had already exceeded 28,000 acupuncture points. Not counting the divine prose bonus, not counting the half-opened yang acupuncture points, not counting the burst of blood essence, not counting anything. Just the strength of his physical body, coupled with the 144 acupuncture points that were about to change, Su Yu's physical strength had already reached the level of 30,000 acupuncture points. Tian Duo was also very powerful when he was in the demon arrival state. His physical strength had roughly exceeded 30,000 apertures. Every punch made Su Yu's sea of consciousness tremble. But this wasn't enough. Was this your strongest state? What other methods did you have? Su Yu saw the demon arrival state and saw some of the moves in the demon race's origin demon technique. Was this all? Was there anything else? He knew all of these. Since he had to disguise himself as Tendo, he naturally had to learn some of his battle techniques, including his battle methods. This was the reason why Su Yu had been dragging him along. Otherwise, when they met, Su Yu would give it his all. With a single slash, Su Yu would have the confidence to cut him down. Su Yu continued to drag him along as he continuously shot out water arrows. Golden sword rays continuously erupted as he charged into the 5 elements purgatory to surround and kill Tendo. Tendo seemed to have no end. He only had one punch. With one punch, he shattered everything. Su Yu secretly ridiculed him. Was it really that F*King straightforward? Was it that simple? Did this guy not have any other tricks? Alright, it was normal for some people to like to specialize in a particular Dao. That was fine too. If it was just this little trick, there was no need for him to learn it at all. It was very simple. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1817. 1817 Chapter 407, The Invincible Ancient Corpse appeared. 3. Even he knew how to do it. Su Yu dragged the other party and entered a depth of more than 10,000 meters under the sea. Suddenly, he said, "Tendo, do you really want to make things difficult for me? I can summon the 5 Elements Patriarch. I still have the divine talisman given by the 5 Elements Patriarch. Do you really want to force me to kill you?" Tendo's expression changed slightly. In the next moment, he said coldly, "Floating Earth Spirit, can you only rely on these external forces?" Shameless. Su Yu snorted coldly. "You're the one who chased after me, Tendo. Leave now, and I won't argue with you. Otherwise, unless you summon your ancestor or have a way to resist the 5 Elements divine talisman. I don't want to kill, so don't force me. Did you have these things? If you didn't, then it was easy to talk about it. If you did, then test it out." These geniuses always brought their great killing weapons, so he had to be careful. Tian Duo's face was cold as he continued to punch after punch. "Spirit of the floating earth, we'll talk after you win. Summon invincibility. Didn't invincibility require time? Use the 5 Elements divine talisman. If you were foolish enough to say it yourself, would I still give you a chance?" His chi and blood began to boil. With a roar, he quickly destroyed the remaining 5 Elements purgatory. As long as he killed the spirit of the floating earth, the 5 Elements Patriarch wouldn't dare to cause trouble to the incipient demon clan for a dead genius. Did he really think he could scare me? Kill him first. Boom. A fist smashed toward Su Yu, who had turned into a waterman. Su Yu, on the other hand, made a judgment and cursed inwardly. "If you don't have it, then you don't have it. How dare you be so arrogant? Speaking of which, I haven't tried Mo Lin either. How about I try to see the effect? I have to take this fellow down in an instant so that he can't use the divine talisman." In the air, Su Yu silently held a drop of blood essence of the 6th level of the mountain and sea realm. His young aperture also slowly opened up. The aperture that Mo Lin was about to use also slowly opened up. Su Yu was worried that he would kill the other party with a single punch. The blood essence from the 6th level of the mountain sea realm, coupled with the half-opened young aperture, the strength word, and the divine script, coupled with Mo Lin, would he be able to kill this fellow? That would be troublesome. "Tendo, let me ask you something." Tendo frowned and punched out once more. "Boring. Trying to disturb me. Really? Let me ask you. Can a 7th level mountain and sea realm expert kill you with one punch?" Tendo snorted. "You can try. Even Ao Yun, the 12th on the heaven roll, couldn't kill me with one punch." Su Yu understood. Amazing. I remember now. This guy was hit by the 12th punch on the heaven roll, but his bones and tendons were broken. He wasn't dead yet, but he recovered very quickly. So, one punch couldn't kill him. His defense was very strong. Although Ao Yun, who was ranked 12th on the heaven roll, hadn't reached the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm, he still had the battle prowess of the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. There wasn't much of a difference between him and Su Yu now. That meant that I couldn't kill him with one punch. Of course, it was possible that his body would explode, but that didn't matter. It would be best if he was seriously injured. Thinking of this, Su Yu let out a low shout. His blood essence entered his abdomen, and his yang orifices were half opened. With the addition of the power word, he activated the vibration technique. Devil's arrival was activated, and in an instant, a shadow fell into his body from the sky. Su Yu's strength instantly increased by a notch. As for Tian Duo, his expression changed. What? An ancient devil's shadow? Devil's arrival? How could this be? In the next moment, an incomparably powerful aura erupted. At the same time, a huge hammer with an incomparably powerful vibration force above his head smashed down. Bang! The hammer and fist fell at the same time. With the hammer smashing down, Tian Duo did not have the time to defend against the hammer. His blood essence exploded to the extreme, and his devil chi boiled to the extreme. With a furious roar, he only wanted to defend against that punch. An incomparably powerful punch. Boom! This punch smashed down, and the hammer also smashed down. Tian Duo's sea of consciousness shook, and he instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. The demonic chi dissipated, and with a desperate roar, boom! A punch landed, and with a bang, his chest was directly pierced through by Su Yu's punch. The shock force erupted, and it shook all the bones in his body until they broke. In the blink of an eye, Tian Duo was like meat paste, completely paralyzed. It was as if he had lost all his bones. All his bones were shattered by Su Yu's powerful shockwave. Su Yu, on the other hand, was shocked. Don't die. Tendo's eyes were dim as he looked at him, a little dazed. What happened to me? This isn't the floating earth spirit. Just as he was thinking, Su Yu suddenly gave him another hammer. Just faint. Little hairy ball, do your work. Hurry up and seal his sea of consciousness. Don't send any messages to him. The next moment, a hairy ball instantly appeared and squeezed into his severely injured sea of consciousness. The moment little hairy ball entered, he saw a drop of blood floating in the sea of consciousness. He quickly swallowed it in one gulp. Then, he quickly transmitted his voice to Su Yu. He has another drop of blood essence in his sea of consciousness. He wants to burn his blood essence to find his parents. Despicable. Little hairy ball looked down on him. He actually hid blood essence to find his parents. How shameless. As for Tian Duo, at this moment, he was almost unconscious. He looked at Su Yu with a dejected expression. Large mouthfuls of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Su Yu. He looked at Su Yu. At this moment, he finally thought of something. This wasn't a floating earth spirit, this was Su Yu. That hammer was very obvious. It was just that he didn't have the time to think about it previously. At this moment, his will was in a daze. As for Su Yu, he thought for a moment. He quickly said, how about this, don't be afraid, don't die. I've broken your body. Your body is too big, it's not easy to hide. I've sealed your sea of will for you. You're still alive. If I'm in a good mood, I won't kill you. Don't be afraid, don't resist. Tendo didn't have time to think. With a rumble, his body was completely broken. The next moment, a small ball of light appeared. It was his sea of will. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1818. 1818 Chapter 407, The Ancient Invincible Corpse appeared. 4. And at this moment, in the sphere of light, there was a small ball, and that was a small hairy ball. As for Su Yu, his eyes moved slightly as he said, hairy ball, swallow it into your stomach, don't digest it, don't eat it, and then you'll enter my sea of will. In this way, even if Invincible scouted the location, he and Tendo were still one. He quickly gathered Tian Duo's broken body and blood, burning his own aura. Not only that, at this moment, Su Yu was constantly erupting with demonic chi and the power of the 5 elements. Overturning rivers and seas. It made people feel that there were still two experts fighting here. And little hairy ball quickly swallowed Tian Duo's Sea of Will. Although it wanted to eat, it didn't. It also knew that Xiang Xiang was prepared to scam more delicious food. It didn't want to eat this guy now. After swindling more delicious food, it would eat this fellow's sea of consciousness. Demonic chi and the power of the five elements constantly erupted, setting off waves in the depths of the sea. The waves grew bigger and bigger. Su Yu quickly cleaned up the battlefield. Then, he transformed and gradually transformed into Tendo's appearance. Not only that, he was also extracting Tendo's blood essence. He also wanted to pry into Tendo's memories. He wanted to go deeper into disguising himself. Of course, there were flaws after all. Moreover, he had to be careful when coming into contact with the invincible in his memories. Otherwise, it would be very easy for him to be discovered. Su Yu quickly transformed. Very soon, his demonic chi overflowed into the sky. The incipient demon technique was activated. A flame symbol appeared on his forehead. This was very difficult to disguise. This had to be formed naturally by opening the space between his brows. His aura was restrained, and his willpower was completely restrained. As for his physical body, Tian Duo was at the 7th level of Lingyun, and Su Yu's aura was not even at the 7th level. However, his physical body surpassed Tian Duo's. Su Yu thought about it for a moment, and he quickly disguised himself as someone with a dispirited aura. He was slightly injured in the battle with the floating earth spirit, and his aura was unstable. I can't let Invincible see it. Once he sees it, it's fake. I can't let the Heaven Hunting Pavilion collect my aura again, otherwise, I might be recognized. Of course, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion wouldn't be so bored as to collect the aura of the experts they had already collected. That would be very boring and a waste of energy. They already had Tendo's aura, so there was no need to collect it again. It would be very difficult for the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to recognize it, but the Heaven Hunting List could. Su Yu was worried that the Heaven Hunting List would recognize him. He continued to create the illusion of a big battle. At this moment, little hairy ball also swallowed the light spot. This way, he could prevent Tian Duo from causing trouble in the Sea of Will or contacting Invincible. Little hairy ball, if he wakes up, immediately shake his Sea of Will. As long as he doesn't die, it's fine. Got it. Little hairy ball swallowed his Sea of Consciousness and quickly entered Su Yu's Sea of Consciousness. At this moment, even if the Heaven Hunting Pavilion or Invincible sect came to investigate, Su Yu was still with Tian Duo. After settling these, Su Yu quickly swam deeper. It was time to start the next plan. The ancient space was shattered. Tian Duo's battle with the floating earth spirit broke through an ancient space and discovered a quasi-invincible corpse. Everything was logical. Outside, there should be people watching the battle from afar. They didn't dare to use their willpower and didn't dare to interfere with this battle. As long as they could disguise themselves, no one would suspect anything. They had to let them see the scene of the ancient space shattering. It would be best if they only took away some important things and left behind some trash from the ancient times. Su Yu had been making preparations these past few days and had bought quite a few of these ancient things. Of course, he had also made some simple modifications to prevent others from recognizing him. Actually, the most crucial part of the entire plan was the spatial fluctuations of the ancient space. This was the most difficult to fake. Su Yu searched for a long time, but he could not find the ancient space. There was no other way. He could only think of a way to create a fake ancient space. Broken divine text. Yes, a broken divine text with space attributes. Su Yu had it. A beast divine text. This was something only a beast tamer could draw. Su Yu didn't know how he had drawn this thing. This thing came with its own space. After it was broken, it would form a wave of space shattering, masquerading as an ancient space shattering. The beast character divine text was also at the peak of the third rank. The ancient space was fragile, and the fluctuation shouldn't be too different from the peak of the third rank. In addition, after it was shattered, the traces would quickly disappear, and it could be disguised. Su Yu cursed in his heart. This was the first time he had shattered his own divine text. Forget it. This time, he had also lost a peak third-rank divine text, and the price was getting higher and higher. If he did not give himself enough benefits, then he would suffer a great loss. He continued to dive. The battle continued. The five elements' power and demonic chi were entangled. The surrounding onlookers did not dare to approach. They were somewhat shocked by the strength of these two people. They had fought until now, but their auras were still incomparably powerful, comparable to the mountains and seas. They were worthy of being geniuses on the earth roll. At this moment, a faint spatial fluctuation came from the depths of the sea. It wasn't too strong, but everyone could feel it. At the same time, an explosive shout was heard, "Mine!" Tian Duo's voice. "Floating earth spirit, how dare you! Devil arrival!" Boom! In the void, another ancient devil god phantom appeared and instantly descended. And at this moment, an incomparably powerful devil chi boiled. Tian Duo, how dare you take it for yourself? At this moment, an incomparably powerful pressure spread out. Tian Duo's voice rang out once again. This. Invincible. No, quasi-invincible. The surrounding experts who heard this suddenly fled. What was this? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1819. 1819 Chapter 407, The Invincible Ancient Corpse appeared. 5. What a powerful aura. What a powerful pressure. And just as they were about to escape, a huge figure appeared in the sky. Tendo appeared, incomparably powerful. He held the huge corpse in his hand, roared, and smashed down with a bang. Overturning rivers and overturning seas. The entire sea area was boiling due to this punch, and waves surged into the sky. In the depths of the sea water evaporated, revealing a shadow. It was the Aborigine. The Aborigine suddenly spat out a mouthful of soil and instantly evaporated. Then he roared, "Tian Duo, you want to keep it all for yourself? Impossible. Everyone, listen up. Tian Duo has seized an invincible ancient corpse, and an ancient heavenly weapon. I saw an ancient cultivation technique and ancient divine text." Boom! Su Yu attacked crazily, one punch after another. In the next moment, Su Yu roared and forcefully put the corpse in the air into his storage ring. Without saying anything else, he fled crazily. He fled toward the depths of the sea. At the bottom of the sea, a stream of water followed him like a floating earth spirit. He roared, "Leave the invincible ancient corpse behind. Tian Duo, you can't escape." The two figures disappeared from where they were in the blink of an eye. Soon, they completely disappeared without a trace. Everyone saw the powerful pressure from the corpse just now. In the next moment, many figures appeared and quickly entered the water, diving down crazily. Below them, the ocean current fluctuated violently. A small space was still spinning and swallowing the seawater. However, the space had already shattered and was rapidly disappearing. A large number of ancient relics were scattered nearby. Heavens! Ancient space! It has been dead for countless years. Can you feel the aura of that corpse just now? I can feel it. It's so strong. It has been dead for countless years, yet it still retains the pressure of the late stage of the sun and moon. Those people were all shocked. An invincible corpse. An invincible cultivation technique. And a heavenly weapon. The battle between Tian Duo and the floating earth spirit had actually broken through an ancient space. And at that moment, someone suddenly exclaimed. He had picked up a quiver of arrows. A large number of people quickly gathered around him. As they looked at him, the person was alarmed and hurriedly said, "I only picked up one of these. This should be an arrow quiver used by ancient experts." With that said, he hurriedly opened the arrow quiver. At that moment, a few simple and unadorned arrows were revealed. Around him, someone hurriedly said, "Quick, let's see what level it is." That person hurriedly checked and casually injected a little yuan qi. Instantly, 82 golden patterns appeared on the ancient arrow. In an instant, 10 of them were shattered. 72 golden patterns were left behind. Dumbfounded. Shocked. Ancient Earth-grade weapons were still middle-grade Earth-grade weapons. What a joke. Bows and arrows were usually consumable items. Heavens! What? What does this mean? It means that this expert used an Earth-grade intermediate weapon as a one-time consumable item in ancient times. Of course, it seems like too much time has passed since the Earth-grade intermediate bow and arrow was broken, but this is still a peak mystic-grade weapon. There are a total of 4 arrows, and this is comparable to an Earth-grade weapon. An Earth-grade weapon, even in the mountains and seas, it is rare to see one. Not every mountain and sea had an Earth soldier. But now, they had just picked up some random things. At this moment, the mountain and sea that had picked up the quiver immediately fled. Flee! He did not expect that a random quiver would have 4 medium-grade ancient Earth soldier arrows. These things were even more valuable than Earth soldiers. Flee! And at this moment, someone said in shock, that corpse has a longbow on its back. Shock! The arrows were all mid-grade Earth soldiers. What about the bow? Was this an archery expert from ancient times? Was it invincible? It wasn't invincible. Even the sun and moon wouldn't be willing to use a mid-grade Earth soldier weapon as a consumable item. At this moment, a few people quickly chased after the person who had escaped. The remaining people quickly searched for other things. No matter what, they all took it with them. Some people even found an ancient city token. It wasn't the same as the one in the inner ring. They were overjoyed and quickly took it to escape. Chase! The space is broken. The main thing is that the remains were taken by Tian Duo. Tian Duo took an invincible ancient corpse. Many pieces of news spread quickly. Some people who didn't get any benefits flew toward 9-Star Island. It was a great opportunity, a great opportunity. An unbelievable opportunity appeared. Heavenly weapon, ancient cultivation technique, invincible corpse, and many treasures were all taken away by Tian Duo of the incipient demon clan. But now, the floating earth spirit and Tian Duo were fighting. They ran away and disappeared into the sea. Not long after, the entire 9-Star Island was boiling. The battle between Tian Duo and the floating earth spirit had broken an ancient space. There was a complete invincible corpse inside. According to the onlookers, even if the corpse had been dead for countless years, its pressure was still overwhelming. It was an ancient expert who could shoot arrows. He carried a heavenly weapon and a longbow, and the arrows were all mid-grade earth weapons. Perhaps they were just consumables that had been picked up by a lucky person and escaped. A bystander with good eyesight said confidently, "It's very likely that it was an ancient expert of the heavenly celestial race, the one who shot the invincible corpse." At that time, the space was shattered, and the world changed color. Even if it had died for countless years, its pressure was still stronger than those 9th-level sun and moon experts. At that time, the heavenly soldier seemed to be still in a deep sleep, but it still burst out with shocking killing intent. I also sensed the aura of a divine text. The other party might still have a divine text in his sea of consciousness. His sea of consciousness might not have shattered. News quickly spread, and the entire 9-Star Island was shaken. A moment later, the experts of the incipient demon race quickly walked out. Not long after, the experts of the various races soared into the air and disappeared. This thing couldn't be taken away by the incipient demon race. The corpse of an unparalleled ancient expert. To be honest, after so many years, no race had ever obtained an unparalleled ancient expert's corpse. Even if the human race had an unparalleled ancient ruin, they had never seen an unparalleled ancient expert's corpse. At this moment, even the human race couldn't hold themselves back. Zhu Guangshan quickly said, "Investigate. Go and track down Tian Duo and the others. If we want to snatch this invincible ancient corpse, even if it's not invincible, it's definitely a top-tier expert." Zhu Guangshan wasn't the only one. All the experts from 9-Star Island, the nearby Heavenly Dawn Island, and the surrounding sea areas were all gathering in this direction. Perhaps, snatching the corpse was the hope of attaining the Tao. He was invincible in the ancient era. Even if there was nothing, a corpse and a heavenly weapon were worth risking their lives for. At the same time, Su Yu took out Tian Duo's ranking board. On it, there was a violent tremor. Tian Duo, sell it to the Heaven Hunter Pavilion. 100 drops of mystic yellow liquid, no, 300 drops. Su Yu immediately threw down the ranking board. He chuckled. 300 drops. Damn, he's really rich. This is equivalent to 900 wisps of heaven and earth mystic light. Of course, he had to be careful not to be found out by them to be fake and not deal with them. The heaven hunting pavilion was too mysterious. Su Yu quickly fled. He would not return for now. He would wait for the news to brew for a day or two before returning. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1820. 1820 Chapter 408 Finding the Floating Earth Spirit 1. Sea Area. At this point, there was still a huge flaw. Floating Earth Spirit. Not being able to catch the floating Earth Spirit was Su Yu's biggest regret, and it also left a huge flaw in his plan. If he was careless and the floating Earth Spirit appeared, or exposed him, Su Yu would be in a huge crisis. While concealing his whereabouts, Su Yu was thinking about how to solve this huge loophole and trouble. If he didn't solve this trouble, Su Yu wouldn't have the courage to complete this transaction. Of course, he pretended to be the floating Earth Spirit and fought with Tendo. The floating Earth Spirit didn't get any benefits, perhaps it was deliberately framing him. This point, everyone might not believe it, but once it was mentioned that Tendo might be Su Yu, even if they didn't believe it. We'll have to check it out. Spirit of the Floating Earth. Su Yu in the heart secretly scold trouble. Soon, there will be a great harvest, but, now he still dare not go to 9-Star City. Real trouble. Time and time again, Su Yu shook his head. Before the plan began, he knew floating Earth Spirit this loophole, but he also cannot do, because Su Yu cannot find floating Earth Spirit, that guy is also missing now. Just as he was thinking, Su Yu's eyes moved and was about to dodge. A muffled thunder-like sound came from behind. Tian Duo, where did the floating Earth Spirit go? Behind him, a figure shot over with incessant rumbling sounds. Shizun. Shizun's speed wasn't slow either. In fact, he had been chasing all along. At this moment, he only saw Tian Duo, but he didn't see the floating Earth Spirit. Immediately, he said furiously, "Where is he? Damn it, he ran really fast. 2 days ago, he played me once. I thought he was hiding in ancient city of Xinghong. I didn't expect him to come to the sea, and now he's running away again." Su Yu wanted to run away first. At this moment, his eyes moved slightly and he said indifferently, "Shizun, you also fought with the floating Earth Spirit?" Shizun's muffled thunder-like voice sounded again. He said angrily, "That shameless person's escape art is too fast. I clearly forced him into the ancient city. I didn't expect him to actually run away. Could it be that he fled out of the ancient city? He was also confused. The entrance of the ancient city was fixed. Could it be that he didn't notice when the floating earth spirit fled? It was possible. After saying that, he said angrily, "This shameless person has finally revealed his ambition this time. The 5 elements have become one. No wonder he insisted on snatching my stone man's heart. I'm afraid he was also trying to perfect his 5 elements' heart. What a good fellow." In an instant, Suyu understood that Shirzun and the floating earth spirit were entangled endlessly. The floating earth spirit was indeed ambitious. Perhaps because the heart of the 5 elements was not perfect, it actually wanted to seize Shirzun's heart of the stone man. Strictly speaking, the stone man could be considered a member of the earth spirit race, a mutated earth spirit race. Of course, Suyu was not sure if it was a mutated earth spirit race or not. The stone man race was very strong. It was not considered an ancient race, but it was also one of the top 100 races. There was an invincible existence in the race. Suyu instantly captured a few pieces of information. First, the floating earth spirit had met Shirzun before. Second, the floating earth spirit might still be in the only ancient city on 9-Star Island. Third, Shirzun had specially come to look for the floating earth spirit. It seemed that he was not interested in fighting with Tian Duo. Perhaps he did not even care about the invincible corpse, or rather, he felt that he was not confident in taking down Tian Duo. The floating earth spirit was in the ancient city. Suyu's eyes moved slightly, and he pretended to be calm as he said, "That fellow is indeed difficult to deal with. Shirzun, you might not be able to defeat him." Shirzun said sullenly, "He is restrained by me. Why would I be afraid of him? He is an earth spirit. His strongest earth escape, earth defense, and earth attack are all ineffective against me. Even if his 5 elements become one, the earth spirit is still the master. Why would I be afraid of him?" He was not afraid of the floating earth spirit. He was not playing house with the floating earth spirit. They had fought many life and death battles. Although the floating earth spirit was strong, it could not do anything to him. Instead, it was beaten by him and ran everywhere. This was the restraint of the race. Even if the 5 elements were really one, Shirzun was not afraid. After scouting around, Shirzun said coldly, "Tian Duo, remember to inform me if you meet him. I will look for him again. He cannot escape." After saying that, he was about to leave. As for Suyu, he quickly said, "Shirzun, I was fighting with him just now. Were you nearby? What's wrong?" Shirzun said angrily, "It's all because of you trash. You ran away for a broken historical site. If you continue to pester him, I'll definitely kill him when I arrive. Is killing a floating earth spirit not better than killing a mere historical site? Stupid." After saying that, Shirzun broke through the air and left. "I saw an ancient corpse, but Grandpa sure doesn't care. I want to kill a floating earth spirit. Compared to killing a floating earth spirit, everything else is a small matter." Suyu was speechless. "I thought you didn't see it, but in the end, you did. You actually ran away so quickly and focused on chasing after the floating earth spirit. This is true love. It's good that you ran away." Suyu also didn't want to cause any more trouble. His heart moved slightly. My relationship with the ancient city really can't be shaken off. The floating earth spirit is very likely in the ancient city. Then I'll go to the ancient city to find him. It's best to get rid of this fellow. Even if I can't get rid of him, I'll have to trap him in the ancient city or not give him the chance to come out at all. That fellow probably didn't bring the ranking board with him. In this way, it'll be very difficult to contact the outside world. As long as I trap him in the ancient house, that fellow won't be able to send a message out. When I'm done, he can come out and not come out." Thinking of this, Suyu quickly covered himself with a robe. Cover himself first. And at this moment, in Tendo's storage ring, a voice transmission talisman vibrated. Suyu took out the voice transmission talisman and frowned slightly. This thing was a little troublesome. To open a voice transmission talisman, there had to be a frequency. If there was no frequency, you could open it, but you couldn't send a message because you didn't know your own voice transmission frequency. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1821. 1821 Chapter 408 Finding the Floating Earth Spirit 2. Fortunately, it was fine if he didn't reply to anyone right now. He opened it and took a look. The demon race's voice transmission talisman was quite high-end. All the information was reserved and could be read quickly. He quickly took a look at the guy who had just sent him a message. There was a note that came from an expert called Devo. Devo? Suyu's heart moved slightly. He knew this. On the first day they entered the city, the Dragon Clan and the Origin Demon Clan had a dispute. That Devo and a huge dragon had put on a show of a great battle. Devo, an expert of the Origin Demon Clan, 7th level of the Sun-Moon realm. Tian Duo, where are you? This was the message Devo had sent to Tian Duo. Suyu had no way to reply. To reply, he needed to control his own frequency and the other party's voice transmission frequency. This was also a way to prevent people from being killed and to use the voice transmission talisman to frame others. Suyu did not know Tian Duo's voice transmission frequency, nor did he know Devo's voice transmission frequency. Naturally, he had no way to reply. The voice transmission talisman was a good thing, but in the past, someone had used it to fish. Now, it had improved a lot. Devo. Suyu's heart moved slightly, but he did not care about him. And at this moment, the voice transmission talisman trembled once again. Tendo, return to 9-Star City as soon as possible. No one will snatch your things, but it's best to trade them with the demons. It'll be very difficult for you to keep them. Modwa. Suyu looked at the label on the screen and was slightly surprised. Modwa and Tendo were still in contact. I thought that there wouldn't be any connection between the two of them. Suyu frowned slightly and quickly sent a voice transmission to the little furball. Use all your strength to deal with Tendo. Get the voice transmission frequency. If you get it, I'll give you delicious food. That was true. If Tendo replied now, it might confirm his identity. It was fine if he didn't reply. Tendo had obtained a great opportunity at this time, so it was normal for him not to reply. However, hiding his identity might be useful. Suyu wore a black robe and quickly moved toward the ancient city. At the same time, he asked Little Hairy Ball to think of a way to deal with Tendo and force him to get the voice transmission frequency. It seemed that the demon race was taking this matter seriously. Even Modwa had sent a voice transmission to ask him to trade the item to the demon race. Suyu didn't reply. Soon, Devo sent another voice transmission. Tendo, many experts are looking for you. You're in danger. Come back and we'll protect you. It's better for you to trade with the demon race or return to the demon world and offer it to Demon King Lad. It's better than being snatched away by others. Demon King Lad was Tendo's ancestor. Whether it was to sell it to other people in the demon world or to give it to his own ancestor, the demon race could accept it. What they were afraid of was that it would be taken away by others. That would be a loss. This ancient invincible. Alright, it was rumored to be an ancient invincible corpse. This might be the only ancient invincible corpse that still existed. Even if it wasn't invincible, it was quasi-invincible. It had extremely high research value. There were also ancient divine runes, ancient heavenly weapons, and even some other things that were related to ancient secrets. In short, this corpse was very important. The demon race and other races were currently looking for Tendo. There was also a group of people looking for the person who was present at that time, as well as the person who had picked up the ancient divine arrow. At this moment, many experts were investigating the ancient space created by Su Yu. At the bottom of the sea, many experts had arrived at the place where the battle had taken place. There were many Sun-Moon realm experts. There was a white-masked person, a golden-shined expert, one from the heaven-hunting pavilion, one from the myriad treasures building, and some experts from other races. The spatial vortex that had shattered had already disappeared, but the spatial fluctuations still existed. A top-tier expert inspected it and said indifferently, "There is a space that has shattered, but it might have been too long ago, so the range of the destruction isn't large." As he said this, he reached out and grabbed, causing the seawater to disappear. In an instant, he grabbed a piece of shattered armor. He looked at it carefully and identified it. Then, he said indifferently, "The original material of an item from the ancient times should have been earth-grade. It might have been completely shattered after the space was shattered." As he spoke, he sighed and said, "Time is merciless. Even in a sealed ancient space, no one can maintain it, no one can nurture it, and the Earth Soldier is also useless." At this moment, another expert stepped into this place and said indifferently, "There is the smell of death. It seems that there might be a trend of converting the dead before death, but for some reason, it has stopped." As soon as these words were said, a demon expert was shocked and said, "An ancient expert can reverse the conversion of the death aura? Our demon emperor once said that the invincible in the ancient era might have been converted into a dead spirit. Even the corpse had been converted into a dead spirit. Could it be that the one here didn't succeed in converting? Why had the invincible corpse of the ancient era disappeared?" According to the experts who had lived for a long time, there was a high probability that it had been converted into a dead spirit. Of course, there were no traces of the invincible in the ancient era in the dead spirit world, but there was a portion of the invincible in the ancient era. The demon emperor and the divine emperor had actually entered the dead soul world and were even preparing to bring some of the invincible spirits back. Could it be that they aren't invincible? If they aren't invincible, then they are quasi-invincible corpses. I heard from those people that the moment the space shattered, the pressure of the sun and the moon also spread. How many years have they been dead? The experts quickly made their judgments. The white-masked man from the heaven-hunting pavilion checked for a while. He said, "There's a portion of Tendo's aura left, but there's no floating earth spirit. This little guy is very cautious. Both of them have lost their rankings, so it's hard to track them now." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1822. 1822 Chapter 408 Finding the Floating Earth Spirit 3. They couldn't even find the person, so there was no point in saying anything else. As for the demon expert, he said coldly, "So what if we found him? He's a genius of the incipient demon race, and he's also a descendant of Demon King Lad. You still want to scheme against my demon race?" He was quite bold. And at this moment, there was a dragon expert who said coldly, "If Tendo can't be saved, then naturally he won't be counted as part of your demon race. Devo, according to what you said, that dragon blood ancient tree of yours should also be returned to my dragon race. Of course, if he managed to snatch it, then it would belong to him." Devo coldly snorted, his heart filled with anger. These fellows, for this thing, it would be very difficult for them to hold back. Of course, as long as Tian Duo returned to their side, there wouldn't be much of a problem. Could it be that they still dared to forcefully attack the demon race's encampment? That would truly be a declaration of war. Now, because Tian Duo had disappeared without a trace, once he was encountered and killed, there was no way to reason with him. He sent a few more messages to Tendo, which meant that Tendo was in the surrounding area. Otherwise, the voice transmission talisman could not be sent too far. However, Tendo did not reply. This idiot. Devo cursed in his heart. You are the descendant of Demon King Lad. No matter what, the demons would not rob you. They would more or less give you some benefits. You could even offer yourself to Demon King Lad. Now, this kid is not replying. What does he mean? He wants to keep it for himself. Is it useful for you to swallow this thing? Regardless of whether it is the invincible corpse or the quasi-invincible corpse, you, Ling Yun, will not be able to digest it. Moreover, the value of this corpse is greater than its own value. The ancient quasi-invincible and invincible corpses are more valuable than the current ones. Devo cursed in his heart again and again. He quickly ordered the other demons to look for Tendo. He must not let the powerhouses of the other races discover Tendo in advance. Killing Tendo was a small matter. Losing the corpse was the true loss. The experts quickly left. Soon, the others left. The golden expert from the Myriad Treasures Pavilion smiled and said, "Heaven Hunting Pavilion, don't you have a ranking on the ranking board? You can't even find him. Deaf?" The white-masked expert said coldly, "Didn't you hear me? He lost the ranking board." The golden-masked expert sneered and quickly said, "It looks like this opportunity won't be your Heaven Hunting Pavilion's turn. Perhaps, it will fall on our Myriad Treasures Pavilion in the end." After saying this, the other party disappeared. The white-masked man couldn't be bothered with him. He continued to investigate for a while and frowned slightly. Soon, he took out a book. He quickly wrote, "There is indeed a space fragment. There is an ancient relic. The degree of the space fragment is not very strong. The seawater is shaking, and the relic cannot be searched. The fragment has already disappeared." Soon, a line of words appeared on the book. "Can you confirm the identity of the remains?" "I can't confirm it." The white mask continued to write, "There are traces of the pressure of the 8th layer of the sun and moon in the space. There are traces of the aura of death. It might have been corroded by the aura of death. According to the witnesses, the remains carried a longbow. Can the style and color of the longbow be recorded? I didn't ask in detail. It's black, about 10 meters long." Soon, another line of words appeared on the book, "Track down Tian Duo and the floating earth spirit. If you want to trade, you can offer a high price. The pavilion will quickly search for ancient information to confirm the identity of the remains. Using a bow and arrow, we should be able to find out the specific identity." Experts who used bows and arrows were at least quasi-invincible, or even invincible. It might be from the heavenly celestial race. This information was enough for them to track down the specific identity of the ancient corpse. Of course, whether they could find out would depend on the completeness of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's information. The white-masked man continued to write, "After encountering Tendo, did you kill him to obtain this item? When no one is around, kill him. We can't guarantee that we won't be discovered. Trade." The Heaven Hunting Pavilion wasn't a good person either. If no one knew, it would naturally be a robbery. If someone saw it, then trade. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion sold information and also engaged in some assassin business. They also worked part-time to trade some valuable items. They still had to have credibility. Of course, if no one saw it, then it wouldn't be considered that they had no credibility. The 10,000 clans knew about this matter. However, it was useless to know. Under normal circumstances, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion was still reliable. Moreover, there was no evidence to prove that they were cheating. At the very least, they looked better than some small organizations. They could also take out real gold and silver to trade. The white mask didn't ask any more questions and quickly left. He had to find Tendo or the floating earth spirit. Recently, there had been a lot of people who had lost their points. At the same time, in a palace floating in the endless void, the faceless elder shouted, "It's all right. Stop your other work and look for information. Compare your identities with bows and arrows. From the 9th level of the sun and moon to eternity, they might be experts from the Tiani celestial race. They might have heavenly weapons and arrows." After the faceless elder finished speaking, the masked man, who did not have any other tasks, quickly began to look through all kinds of information. After a while, a masked man reported, "Elder, according to the information we have, there are 6 people who fit the profile. First, the ancient King Yi, an expert of the Tianyi celestial race, an eternal realm expert. He used a heavenly bow, but the other party's arrows were also of the heaven rank. Second, the 6th generation clan leader of the Tianyi celestial race. His title is Sky Shooting King, an eternal realm expert. He used a divine bow to kill an eternal realm expert, but it doesn't fit the profile. It doesn't exclude the possibility that his divine weapon dropped in rank. Third, the Heaven Splitter King of the ancient era. He is a hybrid of man and God. He has the bloodline of the heavenly Yi celestial race, but he also has the bloodline of the human race. Fourth. The identities of the suspects were discovered one by one. The faceless elder took a look, he frowned slightly and said, "Something isn't right. I know some of these people, but I can rule out some of them, continue to search for other information. At the same time, there aren't many who meet the requirements." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1823. 1823 Chapter 408 Looking for the Floating Earth Spirit 4. Yes. Heaven Hunting Pavilion started to search for some information that had not been recorded. As for the faceless elder, he thought for a while and shook his head. Forget it, he would slowly search. If it did not work, he would take the corpse and slowly compare it. Tendo, where would this fellow go now? Leave the Sea of Stars and return to the demon world? Or not to leave and continue to stay in the Sea of Stars? The faceless elder thought for a moment and quickly said, "Pay attention to the whereabouts of the demon race. If Tendo doesn't show himself, then he might abandon the demon race and swallow this harvest alone. The demon race might use the blood essence to track him down. Tendo did not have no family. Perhaps soon, someone from Demon King Lad's faction would come and use the blood essence to locate Tendo. He couldn't let Tendo come into contact with the demon race first. Otherwise, he was, after all, the invincible descendant of the demon race. If that was the case, it would be very difficult to obtain this batch of items. All parties were currently searching for Su Yu's whereabouts. Of course, it was Tendo at this moment. As for Su Yu, he directly rushed towards the ancient city. The ancient city was relatively safer. Grand Star Ancient City was the closest ancient city in the nearby area. Su Yu was very fast and did not fly over carelessly. He covered his tracks and only at night did he see a huge ancient city thousands of miles away from 9-Star City. The style was similar to other ancient cities, but there was a slight difference. Other ancient cities, such as Heaven's Destruction and Yunshao, Su Yu did not see a moat. This ancient city of Hongqing had a moat. The moat surrounded the city walls, giving Su Yu the feeling that it was very dangerous. The moat was filled with the aura of death. This ancient city seemed to be heavily corroded by the aura of death. He did not know if it was because the undead in the city were stronger or something else. Su Yu landed on the ground. At the city gate, a group of undead dressed in armor looked at Su Yu in silence. Undead. The reason why Su Yu called them undead was because the aura of death was too strong. Su Yu felt that these people might soon turn into undead. He had seen many generals guarding the city in Heaven Destruction City, such as the Heaven's Gate. They looked like they had the aura of death, but they still had a bit of the aura of a living person. The guards in Ancient Starred City, on the other hand, had a very strong aura of death. Su Yu had some understanding of this ancient city. The city lord was an expert from the dragon race, at the 9th stage of the Sun-Moon realm. Moreover, he was not an ordinary dragon race. He was a race that was rarely seen in the dragon race, the Dark Demon Dragon. It was said that he was a hybrid between the dragon race and the demon race. The number of darkness demon dragons was very small, and they were not welcomed by the dragon race. It was said that the city lord of the dragon race had a falling out with the dragon race in the past. He betrayed the dragon race and became the city lord of the ancient city of Xinghong. All these years, the dragon race did not come to find trouble in the ancient city. Su Yu had some general information. Moreover, the guards of the ancient city of Xinghong were very overbearing. They had even killed experts outside the city. This had a lot to do with the city lord. The dark demon dragon was also very domineering. Therefore, he had to be careful here. He didn't want to be killed by the 9th-level city lord of the Sun Moon City. That would be troublesome. Not many people came to this ancient city. At night, the aura of death was extremely dense, and not many people came. Besides the guards, Su Yu was the only one walking inside the huge city gate. There were some people inside who couldn't handle it and walked out. When they saw Su Yu walking in, no one cared. There were always some people who were brave and skilled. They entered the city in the middle of the night and were not afraid of the undead or death. There was nothing they could do. Su Yu, who had been to 2 ancient cities, had a good understanding of the ancient cities. If he was a floating earth spirit, he would definitely not be in the outer ring. It was right to start searching inside the 18th ring. Other than the residents, there were records and records of other people who had entered. There were not many non-residents who had entered the 18th ring. The floating earth spirit is not weak, but it can only stay between the 18th and 12th rings at most. He probably does not have the ability to enter the inner ring. It is possible to enter, but he might not be able to gain any benefits. Su Yu made a rough judgment. The ancient house was very mysterious. Even his sensing jade could not detect the situation inside the ancient house. Otherwise, it would be very easy to find the floating earth spirit. The other party must be here. The stone venerable said that he went in but did not come out, so the chances were that he had not left yet. After all, the stone venerable had only left the ancient city not long ago. At this moment, many people were probably looking for him. That Devo had already transmitted his voice a few times. Su Yu did not have the time to pay attention to him. As for Madhua Na, he transmitted his voice once and did not transmit his voice again after that. Now, Su Yu had entered the city of death. The voice transmission talisman was intermittent. If the death chi was slightly denser, he probably would not be able to receive the voice transmission. Since the voice transmission is unable to succeed, the demons might be able to deduce that I have come to the ancient city. Of course, it is also possible that I have gone deep into the sea of stars. In any case, it was likely that experts would be attracted here soon. He had to find the floating earth spirit as soon as possible to resolve this loophole. On the streets, there were dead spirits passing by, so Su Yu quickly avoided them. There were guards patrolling the streets at night, so Su Yu did not have any conflicts with them. He quickly left to avoid coming into contact with them. The houses of the 5 Elements clan. Perhaps, this was more suitable for the floating earth spirit. Su Yu repeatedly reduced the scope of his investigation. A person with great skills was bold. In the middle of the night, there was almost no one on the streets. This was also suitable for Su Yu to investigate. Su Yu had been searching everywhere. He was prepared to transform into a dead spirit when no one was paying attention to him and search for the floating earth spirit. This was more convenient. In the city, it was fine as long as the city lord did not pay attention to him. Very soon, Su Yu found a place with no one around. He activated the sensing jade and the calamity divine text. Very soon, when there was no movement, he quickly turned into a dead spirit. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1824. 1824 Chapter 408 Finding the Floating Earth Spirit 5. At this moment, in the city lord's mansion. In the back hall, a stone statue opened its eyes. Just as the stone statue opened its eyes, a small person stepped through the air and looked at the stone statue with a helpless expression. Passing by, non-undead. Special cultivation technique. The stone statue silently looked at the small person. After a long while, it said, "So you from the heaven-destroying ancient city who created chaos? Senior, do you know him? I'm in the sacred city. Nothing can be hidden from me in the sacred city. A few days ago, some living beings mentioned it." The stone statue said in a daze, "Heaven's destruction has a good temper. I have a bad temper. Don't stir up trouble. Otherwise, I will punish you." The impostor thought for a while and said, "The half-emperor of the god-devouring clan asked him to stir up trouble. He wants to lure out the invincible civilized masters of the powerful god-devil race and devour them. He also wants to give his descendants a chance to gain experience." The stone sculpture's eyes moved slightly as he looked at Su Yu. In the next moment, he saw through Su Yu's sea of consciousness and the little hairy ball lying on the god-expanding hammer. The half-emperor of the god-devouring clan asked this human to cause trouble. He did sense some weak power from the little hairy ball. It didn't come from the half-emperor, but from Tian Mie. Tian Mie might have once protected the little god-devouring beast. In order to lure out the god and devil experts, he devoured them. The stone statue fell into deep thought. After a moment, he said coldly, "Who are you? I've never seen you before. Even Senior hasn't seen all the worlds in the universe. This will clone of yours is about to dissipate. If I attack, you won't be able to stop it." The villain nodded, "I won't be able to stop it. Forget about dissipating, even if I don't dissipate, I won't be able to stop Senior. I've been entrusted by the great Qin King, great Xia King, great Ming King, and great Zhou King to protect this person. This person is a disciple of the King of Silkworm Extermination and the King of Heaven Caste." After saying a bunch of invincible words in one breath, he added, "He has also received the legacies of the great Song King and the great Han King." The stone sculpture sensed silently. Yes, he had also discovered some weak eternal auras. Many of them were mixed, and they were invincible legacies of divine literature or cultivation techniques. Among them, a saber chi inheritance was even more powerful. His saber was learned from Xiaolongwu. Yes. The stone sculpture was silent. That was Xia Longwu's saber, not Xia Wushan's saber. This stone sculpture could tell that he had met the great Xia King and Xiaolongwu. He was a very troublesome person. He carried many unrivaled inheritances on his back. He spoke again, "It's nothing. Don't give me any trouble." After saying those words, he closed his eyes. Forget it. He couldn't be bothered to care about it anymore. It was truly troublesome. With the existence of demigod devouring God had lived for far too long. So long that, at this moment, the stone sculpture was considering whether demigod devouring God was still the same person from back then. If that was the case, that fellow had lived for a frighteningly long time. Even heaven's destruction had given him face, so it was possible that he was the same person from back then. But now, the old clam had given birth to a pearl and had a descendant. This was truly strange. Was he going to die? Give birth to a small one and carry out the inheritance? He didn't quite understand the situation. The small person dissipated and returned once more. However, after walking out a few times, he was already showing signs of dissipating. He felt helpless. He was too good at causing trouble. He had already seen quite a few stone sculptures. How long had it been? If he were to do it one or two more times, he would completely dissipate. The current Su Yu was no longer the Su Yu from back then. It would be very difficult for him to leave a mark without making a sound. Su Yu was not sure about the communication between the stone statue and the scumbag. He had never interacted with the stone statue before, and the only time it did not speak was when Su Yu thought that it was an opportunity in the ancient city. In the city, Su Yu, who had turned into a dead spirit, continued to search for the whereabouts of the floating earth spirit. From the 18th to the 12th ring, he quickly searched. Not counting the residents, there were 62 houses for living people. That was too many. Obviously, there were quite a number of experts who had moved in. If one wanted to move into the 18th ring, even those without a mountain sea realm wouldn't have the confidence to do so. In that case, there were 62 living beings who were comparable to a mountain sea realm expert living in these rings. Under normal circumstances, these people will leave in 3 days at most. During the day tomorrow, some people might come out, but I can eliminate some of them. Su Yu thought to himself. In this way, he could eliminate most of the people in 3 days at most. However, 3 days was too long. Floating earth spirit, damn it, it's really annoying. Su Yu was helpless. Back then, he hadn't been able to kill the floating earth spirit, which made him very uneasy and troublesome. If he didn't solve this hidden danger, his swindling plan might be greatly disrupted. I really hope that this fellow will encounter a fortuitous encounter in the house and lock himself up for 8 to 10 days. If that was the case, he would be able to do whatever he wanted. 8 to 10 days was enough for him to complete the transaction. What he was afraid of was that during the transaction, that fellow would suddenly appear. Su Yu continued to investigate. He did not care anymore and continued to investigate. He transformed into an undead spirit and began to deliberately knock against some doors. Some people ignored him, while others would berate him. There were even experts who directly opened the doors to investigate. When they saw an undead spirit wandering around and knocking against a wooden board, they ignored it. Did the undead spirit become restless? Who cares? The target range gradually narrowed. 40 rooms, 30 rooms. When the sky was about to brighten, Su Yu quickly found a room to hide and turned into Tendo again. When the sky was about to brighten, he once again began to deliberately go near those rooms to investigate. Some people left, some went out, and some continued to close their doors. The outside world was already bustling with noise. Everyone had gone to look for Tendo. As for Su Yu, he was not in a hurry. In one day, he had eliminated 19 rooms, leaving only 11 rooms. If the floating earth spirit was within these 6 rings, then it was within these 11 rooms. One of them was definitely him. And at this moment, the floating earth spirit was indeed in one of the rooms. He was somewhat uneasy and felt a sense of danger. What's going on? Did Shi Zun find me? I'm already in the ancient city and have already entered the house. Could it be that the lump of stone can still find me? The floating earth spirit was very frustrated. Why did it always have a sense of danger? This was troublesome. The ancient house didn't see any fortuitous encounter either. Could it be that it was even more dangerous to leave this place and leave the ancient city? Su Yu and Shi Zun were both looking for it. Could it be Su Yu? The floating earth spirit thought silently in its heart. It couldn't be that fast. That fellow was able to find it so quickly. No one knew about what happened in the ancient city either. With some agitation and uneasiness, the floating earth spirit wanted to go out several times, but he gave up on the idea. Forget it, I'll wait and see. At this moment, there was a slight movement outside the door. The floating earth spirit was extremely vigilant and kept silent. Outside the door, Su Yu gently stroked the wooden board. There was no movement. However, there was someone inside. This was the 7th room he had explored. He had eliminated 4 of the first 6 rooms, and the remaining 2 were the same as this one. There was no movement or sound. There were still 4 rooms that he had not explored. If the remaining 4 were the same, then there were 7 rooms, which might be where the floating earth spirit lived. Su Yu continued to create that sound, the sound of claws rubbing against wooden planks. In the room, the floating earth spirit was extremely vigilant. What was going on? Was there someone outside? Or was there something outside? He was a little nervous. Last time, he had almost died in the ancient city. After a while, the movement disappeared. The floating earth spirit heaved a sigh of relief, but it did not dare to open the door. Who knew what was going on outside? Just like that, after half an hour, another sound was heard. Su Yu came again. Of the 7 rooms, 3 could not help but open the door to check the situation after he left. None of them were floating earth spirits. Su Yu did not stay nearby. Instead, he used the induction jade to sense within 1,000 meters. The door opened, and these people naturally could not escape his senses. 3 of them were not floating earth spirits. Then they could only stay in these 4 rooms. With constant harassment, there would always be people who were curious and wanted to come out to see the situation. Even if they did not look now, when they felt that there was no danger, they would still come out to check. The target range was getting smaller and smaller. The floating earth spirit in the room was also very annoyed. What the hell? Why was it here again? Who? The floating earth spirit shouted in a low voice. Who was causing trouble? Damn it, could it be that some bastard was deliberately trying to scare me? I am the future ruler of the 5 Elements clan, how could you scare me? Do you believe that I will kill you? A small golden sword appeared in his hand. Do you believe that I will kill you in one go? Outside the door, Su Yu's movements slowed down. He laughed. The undead laughed. Floating earth spirit, I found you. This fellow was actually hiding here. There were some changes to his voice, but it didn't matter. This voice belonged to the floating earth spirit. At this moment, Su Yu let out a huge sigh of relief. This fellow shouldn't have gone out before. That meant that his matters might not have been leaked out by him, and he probably didn't know that he was pretending to be Tendo. Floating earth spirit, I found you. Very good. A smile appeared in Su Yu's eyes. This was the final flaw. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1825. 1825 Chapter 409 was ready for auction. Update, thank you everyone. 1. The floating earth spirit's voice came from inside the door. Su Yu was delighted. This was the biggest loophole in the plan. After dealing with the floating earth spirit, the only thing he was afraid of was that Invincible would personally descend. However, in 9-Star Island, Invincible would not descend here without great changes. Dong dong dong. Su Yu knocked on the door again. Inside the door, the floating earth spirit was somewhat irritated. Again. How annoying. Who is it? What do you want to do? Aren't you afraid of death? With a low shout, he took out his small golden sword and aimed it at the door. Do you believe that I will give you a sword? Even the sun and moon had to think of a way to save themselves. Of course, killing people in the ancient city was not a good choice. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to make a move here. However, there was something knocking on the door outside. This was a dead city, so he was still somewhat frightened. At this moment, Su Yu no longer knocked on the door and took out an ancient city token. He had quite a number of ancient city tokens in his hands, but the best one could only enter the 16th ring. Fortunately, the floating earth spirit entered the 16th ring. Since he did not open the door, he would force his way in, shut the door, and kill the floating earth spirit. The appearance of the ancient city token caused Su Yu to infuse death chi. Outside the door, the invisible barrier seemed to have been opened, and inside the house, the floating earth spirit felt a great sense of danger. Even though Su Yu had used the quiet, divine script, the floating earth spirit still felt a strong sense of danger. The small sword in his hand was ready to be used. At this moment, the floating earth spirit felt the door tremble and shouted in a low voice, "Who exactly are you? Do you want to die? Can you withstand an invincible attack? Damn it! This was opening the door, forcefully opening the door. The other party was either a powerful undead spirit or a guy who had the ancient city token, and it was a very powerful ancient city token. The sound of the door opening was a little too small, and Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. Perhaps, he might be able to trick that thing, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. It should be possible, right? The five elemental art was still very powerful, and it seemed to have the same origin as that thing. Last time, he had forcefully absorbed the wooden thorn, but this time, he was too close to it. Su Yu was a little worried, and he didn't have the time to absorb and digest it. After thinking for a moment, Su Yu hesitated for a moment and quickly made up his mind. I have to go in. In the Sea of Will, he instructed little hairy ball, if I can't withstand the absorption, absorb a little. That thing is considered a willpower attack. You can absorb it, do you hear me? It smells so good, but it's so dangerous. Little hairy ball mumbled. It was incense, but it had also discovered the danger. Last time, it did not dare to eat it. Incense is enough. It's better to be killed than to be killed, right? The little hairy ball seemed to be deep in thought as it nodded. All right, that made sense. After instructing the little hairy ball for a while, Su Yu continued to open the door. At this moment, the door slightly opened a crack. At this moment, a powerful five elements power attacked from behind the door. The floating earth spirit was still reluctant to directly activate the small sword and test the water first. Su Yu instantly recovered his physical body. He pushed the door open and punched out. A loud boom. Su Yu instantly entered and closed the door. His actions were done in one go. He closed the door and hit the dog. He was familiar with this action. Last time, he did the same thing in Heaven Destruction City. The floating earth spirit's five elements purgatory instantly appeared. It wrapped around the outsider. It felt very strong, but it was not so strong that it could not be matched. Once the five elements purgatory appeared and trapped the other party, he instantly recognized the other party. Tian Duo. Something was wrong. He was shocked. The demonic chi was intrepid. It seemed to be Tian Duo, but he was an expert of the five elements race. He had fought with Su Yu in a life-and-death battle before. In an instant, he screamed, Su Yu. Holy shit. It was this guy. How could he find him like this? Without saying anything else, the small sword appeared. At the same time, Su Yu's eyes lit up. In the next moment, a small flame appeared, and in the next moment, a piece of soil appeared. Su Yu was shocked. Damn, are you crazy? You used so many invincible divine talismans all at once. This wasn't something he hadn't considered before. In an instant, a powerful corpse appeared in front of Su Yu. Yes, the corpse of the eighth layer of the sun and moon. Su Yu used this as a shield. Although the person was dead, he was still powerful when he was alive. He could still resist a bit. This thing was stronger than ordinary earth soldiers. The floating earth spirit instantly felt the pressure. The powerful pressure made him want to kneel down. He was terrified. F***CK. What was this? He raised a few things and pointed them at Su Yu. He shouted, what are you trying to do? Do you really want to die? Can you block me with a broken corpse? Su Yu frowned. After a while, he said, why don't you start one by one? F***CKU. Am I F***King stupid? The last time I used the wooden thorn, you absorbed it. Now that I know it's you, you still want to use one. What if it's absorbed again? He raised 3 divine talismans and aimed at Su Yu. He shouted in a low voice, even if you have this broken corpse to block, at least 2 divine talismans can penetrate it. Can you block it? I still have one. Su Yu, do you really want to force us to fight to the death? He still had 4 divine talismans, but they were all life-saving items. If he used all of them at once, he would also collapse. Moreover, if he used all of them, could he kill Su Yu? It was hard to say. Su Yu's situation was special. His strength was not too strong, but this guy seemed to be restraining his divine talismans. It was not restraining them, but rather, it seemed to contain them. This made the floating earth spirit very speechless. Could it be that Su Yu's 5 elements divine runes were the problem? He couldn't figure it out, so now he was riding a tiger and had no way out. As for Su Yu, he was also very helpless. This fellow actually didn't fire out one divine talisman after another. This was a bit difficult for him. Su Yu maintained his composure and raised the corpse to block outside himself. He smiled and said, "Floating earth spirit, how about this, let's talk peace. You give me 2 divine talismans, and I won't bother you anymore." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1826. 1826 Chapter 409 was ready for auction. El Arbirian stated, "Thank you everyone, too. Su Yu, do you think I'm an idiot?" The floating earth spirit said gloomily, "Do I look like an idiot? Also, why was this guy pretending to be Tendo?" At this moment, the man and the earth were less than 10 meters apart. Su Yu was afraid of his divine talismans, and the floating earth spirit was also worried that he wouldn't be able to kill him after using up the divine talismans. For a moment, both of them were hesitant. In the sea of consciousness, Su Yu kept urging, "Hairy Ball, can you eat one?" After eating one, Su Yu had a greater chance of dealing with the floating earth spirit. "I will be stuffed to death." If little Hairy Ball refused, he would really be stuffed to death. Too strong. Su Yu was helpless. "You, Ling Yun of the Aboriginals, are really trash." Then quietly eat all of his willpower. Activating the divine talismans requires strength and willpower. After eating his willpower, he won't be able to activate it at all. There was no divine talisman that could be activated on its own initiative. It needed its owner to activate it. Perhaps little Hairy Ball could do it. Little Hairy Ball also thought about it and felt that it could give it a try. Eat up his willpower. Anything near the divine talisman would do. Su Yu continued, "Just eat up the willpower around his divine talisman so that he won't be able to activate the divine talisman in an instant. We have to be fast. Let's join forces and finish him off." "All right." Little Hairy Ball also felt that he had to take a risk. If he succeeded, then he would be in for a treat. 1 person and 1 ball. They instantly reached an agreement. At this moment, Su Yu directly said, "Floating earth spirit, don't be agitated. You might not be able to kill me, and I might not be able to deal with you either. I'm looking for you this time because I have something to discuss with you. I don't want to hear it. You can leave." The floating earth spirit said warily, "I've already contacted Invincible of the clan and will be arriving soon. Su Yu, don't make a mistake." Su Yu smiled and said, "This is an ancient city. Previously, so many Invincible did not dare to enter the ancient city. I heard that they were just wandering around the outer perimeter. Your 5 elements clan's Invincible dared to come. Who are you trying to scare?" The floating earth spirit was speechless and said sullenly, "You've been looking for me. What exactly do you want to do?" "Cooperation." "Cooperation? Right, it's like this. I'm preparing to kill Madonna, and I need your help." Bullsh *T. The floating earth spirit nearly vomited blood. "Are you kidding me? Alright, if this fellow still had Yi Baishan's divine prose, he might really be able to kill Madonna. But why are you killing Madonna for no reason? Do the 2 of you have a deep grudge?" Between geniuses, most of them relied on their true abilities to kill each other. Otherwise, who wouldn't have a trump card or something? Even if Su Yu exploded with Yi Baishan's divine text and killed the other party, so what? The benefits he obtained weren't that great. It would also cause the invincible demon race to chase after him. As he spoke, little hairy ball appeared soundlessly. The floating earth spirit was suddenly startled. In the next moment, he let out a low shout and without saying anything else, he activated the divine talisman to kill Suyu. His sense of danger was still very strong. As soon as little hairy ball appeared, he sensed danger, although he did not see anything, he felt a faint fluctuation. Whine! An incomparably sharp sword chi appeared. In the next moment, a powerful flame rose. The floating earth spirit was just about to activate the third jade talisman when the lump of earth was suddenly startled. The lump of earth could not be activated. He was terrified. Without saying anything, he activated the water divine talisman in his mind. In an instant, he was covered in water. Then, he punched out and sent the invisible little hairy ball flying. The next moment, the lump of earth was activated again, instantly forming a patch of yellow soil. The floating earth spirit was somewhat frantic and helpless as it jumped into the yellow soil. The yellow soil and the liquid instantly fused. And at this moment, Suyu had no time to care about him. Flames rose and sword chi was sharp. He activated the 5 elements divine art and relied on his 8th level sun and moon body to block a portion of the killing intent. The remaining portion seeped in and the flames instantly burned his body. Suyu roared as a large amount of heaven yuan chi exploded. Flesh and blood rebirth. A portion of the sword chi was forcefully absorbed by his sea of will, stirring up shocking waves in the sea of will. This fellow was too sharp. And at this moment, the floating earth spirit had completely turned into a fixed lump of earth. He did not tell Suyu that not all of his 5 elements divine talismans were offensive. The water and earth divine runes were defensive. Otherwise, he would have activated all 4 divine runes at the same time. At this moment, the remaining water and earth divine talismans were activated, forming a huge defensive cement soil. The floating earth spirit directly hid inside. This was a choice he had no choice but to make. But he felt a sense of danger. He had no choice but to make this choice. The floating earth spirit had solidified himself. In this way, even if Suyu was still alive, he couldn't do anything to him unless the sun and moon were high enough to break this defense. And he had used so many divine talismans. The 5 Elements clan's patriarch should have sensed it and might come to save him. Of course, even if he was invincible in the ancient city, he might not come. The floating earth spirit was very helpless. At this moment, he sealed himself in cement and looked outside. He wanted to see whether Suyu was dead or not. 2 divine talismans, could they really not kill you? I don't believe it. Alright, very soon, he believed it. It really could not be killed. Suyu's flesh and blood were burned, but he kept on being reborn. Not only that, Suyu quickly left the house and closed the door, avoiding some of the flames. Outside the door, on the street, Suyu kept on absorbing, using the 5 elements divine art to devour the power. The 180 divine apertures kept on absorbing the power, absorbing the sword chi, and absorbing the flames. Meanwhile, little hairy ball had returned to the sea of will. It was a little dispirited. It had just been punched by the floating earth spirit, and it was in great pain. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1827. 1827 Chapter 409 was ready for auction. Update, thank you everyone. 3. At this moment, he carefully ate a little flame and soon rolled around on the ground. Sweet, but painful. Suyu continued to wear down these powers and entered the house again while no one was paying attention. He did not want others to feel that there was a large amount of energy overflowing from this place and come to investigate. Flames and sword chi continued to burn and attack his body and sea of consciousness. The 180 divine apertures became even more resplendent. Absorb, devour. A large amount of willpower was absorbed by him. Even some of the divine apertures of the celestials that he had previously discovered were rapidly opening up. Devour. His body was also constantly strengthening. Of course, the prerequisite was to consume a large amount of Heaven Yuan Qi. Su Yu did not have much Heaven Yuan Qi to begin with. At this moment, under the intense consumption, he was on the verge of running out. In the house, the lump of earth was still there. The floating earth spirit was currently trapped inside, and he had sealed himself. And this time, there was no ancestor who could communicate with him. This was because they were in the ancient city. Even Invincible could not cross spacetime and directly travel here. He could not even pry, unless Invincible came personally. After about 2 hours, Su Yu opened his eyes. His throat was hoarse and he laughed. With a hoarse laugh, he looked at the lump of earth. You didn't kill me. At this moment, the face of the floating earth spirit appeared on the lump of earth. He sighed and said, You don't know the 5 elements divine text. You know a special cultivation technique that might be of the same origin as us. Su Yu, right? He had lost the bet. Su Yu did not use the 5 elements divine text to resolve it, but used an extremely special cultivation technique to resolve it. This cultivation technique, along with Su Yu's continuous circulation, the floating earth spirit actually saw something. Perhaps this was a divine technique related to the 5 elements. He did not say much. Su Yu's injuries were not light, but they were not fatal injuries that could be healed. He was very troublesome. Even so, the floating earth spirit was not willing to admit defeat. He said, You can't kill me. The 2 invincible divine talismans fused with water and earth, forming the strongest defense in the world. Only the invincible could break through the defense and kill me. Su Yu, once I die, the invincible 5 elements clan will attack you. You won't get anything by killing me. You will also attract the revenge of the entire 5 elements clan. I am the hope of the 5 elements clan. You should be able to see it. At this point, he couldn't help but ask, Why did you have to kill me? Damn it, what deep hatred did we have? In order to kill him, this fellow had taken a great risk and even chased him to the ancient city. Wasn't he holding a grudge? Su Yu thought for a moment and said in a hoarse voice, I didn't have to kill you. You might have exposed my identity. F***CK. F***CK your grandpa. The floating earth spirit was about to collapse. Are you serious? If I'm worried about this, I'm so F***king wronged. Stop bullshitting. Aren't you coveting my 5 elements heart? Then what is it? The floating earth spirit collapsed. You don't even know about the 5 elements heart, and you're here to kill me? Then are you jealous of my talent? Hee hee. Or rather, are you coveting my heroic bearing? Su Yu ignored him. He was sick. I'm coveting you. I'm jealous of you. I'm really looking for trouble with you so that I won't expose my identity. At this moment, in the Sea of Will, 2 forces were still erupting, but Su Yu had already used up more than half of them. The body of the 8th layer of the sun and moon had been destroyed quite a bit, but the 8th layer of the sun and moon still had the ability to heal itself even after death. Su Yu didn't care too much about it. This kind of injury was actually quite good. It covered up Xia Longwu's single injury from killing people. Later on, he would use the death aura to corrode it, which would make it more realistic. This time, the improvement of his physical body wasn't big. It didn't have the vitality of the wood thorn like last time. However, this time, Su Yu's harvest wasn't this. Instead, his Sea of Will had been forcefully blasted open, expanding a little. Including the 32 divine apertures from the cultivation technique he obtained from the immortals, 16 of them had been opened at this moment. Half of them had been opened. The 180 divine apertures that were originally opened now felt much stronger. They also carried a sharp power and a flame power. Of course, this power had to be worn away to prevent the Five Elements clan's ancestor from finding out and hunting him down. The benefits of the Sea of Will was still very great. It was just that he was slightly injured and needed some time to repair it. This time, he didn't gain much from his body. He had only completed 30 casts. It wasn't of much use. Su Yu finally knew that his wishful thinking was wrong. Unless the floating earth spirits were all wood thorns and carried a large amount of life force, they would be able to help him better cast his body. On the Five Elements clan's side, perhaps only the wood spirits would be able to help him forge a body. 30 points of physical strength. After calculating, his physical strength had officially exceeded 30,000 apertures. However, it did not meet his expectations. For divine talismans were activated, 2 were used by this fellow to defend himself, and 2 only increased his strength by 1 casting. Of course, once his Sea of Will was repaired, his willpower would increase greatly. Furthermore, if Su Yu's Sea of Consciousness was said to be only comparable to the peak of Ling Yun, this time, it was really comparable to the Shanhai realm. It was probably similar to when Zhao Li had not advanced. As for Zhao Li, he had spent many years to achieve this. Su Yu silently absorbed the last bit of strength. A moment later, he stood up and punched the lump of earth. There was no movement at all. Su Yu was actually not surprised. He was just a little curious and said, "Floating earth spirit, you've trapped yourself to death. Invincible and unable to enter the ancient city, aren't you just killing yourself?" Floating earth spirit did not speak. "Who cares about me? I'm willing. Damn it, if you hadn't forced me, why would I have made such a move?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1828. 1828 Chapter 409 was ready for auction. Update, thank you everyone, for. He quickly asked, "What is that thing that swallowed my willpower? Is it divine runes or demonic beasts?" It was a very strange thing. This time, he felt the threat of this thing and had no choice but to quickly activate the divine talisman. If he was a little later, he was afraid that he would not even have the ability to activate the divine talisman. Now, at least he had been sealed. At least Su Yu could not break this defense. Su Yu ignored him and tried again. The 5 elements divine runes appeared, burned, and slashed, they could not be broken. He tried to use the 180 divine aperture to absorb these 2 forces. In the end, after the water and soil fused, he was unable to absorb them. The floating earth spirit said calmly, "I knew that you might have the ability to absorb energy, so I deliberately used the water and soil forces to seal myself. In this way, the power will mutate, and you can't do anything to me." Su Yu smiled. "Your mouth is very tough. You've already become like this, yet you're still so arrogant." As he spoke, he smiled and said, "I can roughly see that even you can't break this sealing power by yourself. However, it won't last for long, and it will probably dissipate after a month." The floating earth spirit didn't say anything. "You're right. After a month, I'll be able to leave. And within a month, there will definitely be experts from the 5 elements race coming to save me. Even if Invincible doesn't come, there will still be the sun and moon coming." Su Yu sneered and said, "You're dreaming. Since there are no experts from your 5 elements race coming to save you, I'll send you to the danger zone first." "Danger zone?" The floating earth spirit said leisurely, "You can't bring me out of the city. If you bring me out of the city, Invincible of the 5 elements race will rush over very quickly. If you don't leave the city, where can you send me?" "Send you where?" Su Yu smiled and said, "Send you to the city lord's mansion. In the city lord's mansion, that dark demon dragon is very overbearing. If I use you to smash him, do you think he won't beat you to death?" Smashing someone with a lump of earth was still a very good choice. The floating earth spirit said indifferently, "You don't dare, and you won't. Suyu, you've been looking for me all this time because you're afraid that I'll expose your identity. But if I were to get out, this seal can seal my body, but it can't seal my voice. Very soon, everyone will know that you're Suyu. Even the dark demon dragon doesn't have the ability to kill me in an instant. The instant I break the seal, it would be enough for me to shout to the entire city. Suyu nodded. There was nothing wrong with that. This fellow was still a little difficult to deal with. Right now, it was impossible to break the seal and take him away. It would be quite troublesome. However, if he was locked in a room, it was possible. Once the door was closed, the members of the Five Elements clan wouldn't be able to enter. Of course, they had to be careful that someone used the ancient city token to open it. Unless they sent this fellow to an ancient house in the inner area and locked him up. Suyu's heart moved slightly. Floating Earth Spirit, do you want to die or live? You can't kill me. The Floating Earth Spirit was on guard. Suyu smiled and said, Are you sure? I still have a 5th generation divine text. Are you sure that I can't kill you? Alright, he wasn't too sure anymore. The Floating Earth Spirit was helpless. He actually felt that Suyu was gone, but he couldn't guarantee it. After a moment of silence, he asked, What exactly do you want to do? I don't want to do anything. You can just go into seclusion for a period of time. Suyu smiled and said, You are someone with great luck. It's very difficult to kill you. I can already feel it. If I kill you, I might provoke the entire Five Elements clan. I can also feel it. The Five Elements clan should send someone to save you. But you are locked in the ancient house, and the other party can't come in, so you can only save yourself. When the power of the seal dissipates, you can open the door and leave by yourself. I checked, and even the aura of death can't penetrate this seal, right? The Floating Earth Spirit was depressed. Was that really it? Just don't let me out. What on earth was Suyu doing? Suyu couldn't be bothered to say more. I'm going to move you into the ancient house in the inner area. Once you're out, I'll lock down the surrounding sound transmission. Don't even think about calling for help. It's useless, Floating Earth Spirit. If you want to live, then behave yourself, how about it? The spirit of the Floating Earth quickly said, Suyu, you and I don't interfere in each other's business. You've always been looking for trouble with me. If you don't want to die together, then I naturally don't want to die either. That's for the best. I've already said that killing you isn't my goal. I need you to enter closed-door cultivation for a month. Suyu smiled, but he was vigilant in his heart. In fact, there was still a risk. What if this fellow broke the seal himself? Although from the looks of it, he could only seal himself. Who knew if he was faking it? In fact, it was best to let Little Hairy Ball guard. However, with Little Hairy Ball guarding, Tendo's Sea of Consciousness would be in the ancient house. Once the demons found it, it would be easy to discover the abnormality. Suyu glanced at the lump of earth and thought for a moment. Perhaps he could add a bit of seal. At the very least, he had to try his best to prevent that fellow from coming out for a few days. Once he came out, he would be done with his business. Who cares? Without saying anything else, Suyu swiftly drew a 5 elements purgatory. Following which, a shadow barrier enveloped him. Soon, he used all kinds of methods to move that fellow to the inner area. Move him to the inner area. Even if the Five Elements clan knew that he was here, they wouldn't be able to find him and save him. Moreover, the other party had probably only roughly discovered his location. In the ancient city, they might not know where he was. Find him for them. The Floating Earth Spirit definitely had great luck. At least, that was what Suyu thought. At this juncture, the other party was still able to protect himself. This kind of person was too difficult to kill. It was likely that even Maudwa and the others were difficult to kill. Who did not have some ability to save their lives. But Suyu also does not care, difficult to kill, but relatively speaking, to the invincible, there is no difficult to kill Lingyun mountains and seas. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1829. 1829 Chapter 409 was ready for auction. Update, thank you everyone. 5. In the end, he was still not strong enough. If he was strong enough, he would break the seal and kill this guy with one slap. Soon, Suyu turned the sealed lump of earth into a big black ball. In the next moment, he brought the big black ball out of the ancient house and quickly walked toward the inner area. At night, there was no one outside, even though Suyu had caused quite a commotion. He kept walking towards the inner area, and very soon, Suyu entered the first ring. He tried to push the houses one by one. Some houses were difficult to enter even if there was no one. Some houses could be entered, but those that could be entered were usually those that had been occupied by others, and there was a high probability that they would not get lucky. This kind of room only had danger and death chi. Suyu pushed dozens of rooms, and finally, one of them was pushed open. There was no one in it. If the floating earth spirit did not open the door, outsiders would not be able to get in. Unless the other party had the ancient city token of the first ring. Hiding the big black ball in the depths of the ancient room, Suyu set up some simple traps around it, including a few weapons. Once the black ball was broken, the weapons would explode, and he could feel it. This way, he would be able to prevent this fellow from escaping without him knowing. The floating earth spirit wrapped in the shadow barrier was unable to transmit its voice, so it was helpless. What was this fellow doing? He had no idea where he was and how dangerous it was. Also, this fellow was chasing after him, impersonating Tendo, and even took out a powerful corpse. What was going on? Unable to understand more information, he made up his mind. If he escaped this time, the next time he met this fellow, he would immediately run. Also, the 5 elements patriarch's divine talismans were useless. From the looks of it, it was best to use offensive divine talismans. Previously, he had thought that it would be better to have a defense. This time, the floating earth spirit was somewhat regretful. If the 4 divine talismans were all offensive, perhaps Suyu would die. Of course, Suyu felt that he was difficult to kill. He also felt that Suyu was difficult to kill. Even if they were all offensive, they might not be able to kill Suyu. Troublesome. Also, what was that thing that suddenly devoured his willpower? He recalled some legends, but he was not too sure. That race had not disappeared. Could it be that the inheritance of that race had also come out? And it had even hooked up with Suyu? What else could silently devour his willpower besides the devouring god clan? He sucked in a breath of cold air. This clan was the 5 Elements clan's natural enemy, a great enemy. Because the 5 Elements clan was a civilized master, even if the forefather encountered the opponent's invincibility, he would still have to flee for his life. Facing the devouring god clan at the same level. The 5 Elements clan was practically dead, unable to resist. Suyu did not care about these things. Very quickly, he arranged everything. With some helplessness, he walked out of the ancient house and closed the door. At this time, he had no way to enter. Just now, when he entered together, he could still enter. Now, there were people inside, unless the floating earth spirit opened the door itself or forcefully opened it. However, Suyu clearly did not have the ability to forcefully open the innermost ancient house. Everything is ready. Taking a deep breath, at least until now, everything was considered complete. That swindling plan could be officially opened. He had to settle everything before the floating earth spirit came out and then run away. It's been 2 days, it should be about time to prepare. Suyu thought to himself. There was a heaven-hunting pavilion branch in the city, and there was a myriad treasures building branch. Why not auction it in the ancient city? Since he couldn't do it here, it was the safest place. He didn't want to auction it in the ancient city before, but now it seemed that the ancient city was more suitable for him. It was daybreak. Few people paid attention to what happened in the ancient city last night. It wasn't strange for anything to happen in the ancient city at night. And just as daybreak broke, the ancient city was in an uproar. Yes, Suyu walked in openly at the city gate. Some residents and those who were seeking refuge saw Suyu, no, Tian Duo. And now, the entire 9-star island knew that he had obtained some benefits and was looking for him. Suyu actually ran to the ancient city. Was he here to take refuge? At this moment, Suyu didn't need to look for him. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion, the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion, and the experts from the Thousand Region Alliance all rushed over. Suyu didn't waste any time, he directly said coldly, "Tell everyone that I want to auction the ancient invincible corpses, including cultivation techniques, ancient divine inscriptions, and ancient heavenly weapons. I want to auction them all. I don't want anything else. I only need resources and all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. The day after tomorrow, I will auction it in the ancient city. If you think you can kill me in the ancient city, you can come and try." At this moment, a white-masked man suddenly said, "Is that really the ancient invincible corpse?" Suyu said indifferently, "Whether it is or not, you can judge for yourself. However, I have one thing to say. This time, the important thing is not the corpse. To me, the most important thing is the ancient cultivation technique. I have discovered a huge secret. This ancient invincible cultivation technique doesn't need to use acupuncture points. It only needs to breathe in and out. This means that any race can cultivate it. Ancient breathing technique?" At this moment, rapid gasps sounded from the mouths of the people in charge. Breathing technique. The expressions of the experts changed. In the next moment, someone rushed out of the city and sent a voice transmission. The ancient breathing technique that had already disappeared appeared once again. Suyu was surprised. How could they be so excited? That's good. Knowing is better than not knowing. Suyu took a deep breath. Whether or not he could make a fortune depended on the upcoming auction. P.S. Number 9 has given birth to a daughter. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you, everyone. Everything is fine. We will start updating today. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1830. 1830 Chapter 410 Sanctuary 1. A stone can cause 1,000 ripples. Tendo wanted to auction the ancient invincible corpse in the ancient city of Stellar Prime. As soon as the news spread out, the entire 9-star island was instantly shaken. A large number of experts rushed towards the ancient city of Stellar Prime. In the inner area. At the entrance of a huge ancient house, the white-masked man spoke once again, "Demon Lord Tendo, even if you are unwilling to sell it to the Heaven Hunter Pavilion, the Heaven Hunter Pavilion can also act as an agent for this auction. It can definitely fetch a higher price." On the other side, a golden expert smiled and said, "Heavenly Duo Demon Lord, hand it over to the Myriad Treasures building for auction. It won't take too long. At most, in a month, we will invite experts from the myriad races for this auction." They needed time. The day after tomorrow was too rushed. There was no way to do things like this. Even if Invincible rushed over from the realm, he still needed time. He still had to communicate with the 9 realms. The time Tian Duo gave was too short. In such a short time, a large number of experts hadn't arrived yet. It was very difficult to sell at a high price. Even if there was an agent, he wasn't the real person, so it was very difficult for him to have the courage to offer a high price. In the room, Suyu opened the door and looked at the experts in all directions. He said indifferently, "There's no need. I need to get what I need as soon as possible. After a long time. I'm afraid the things cannot be auctioned anymore. There were still some people who didn't understand what he meant. In the next moment, an extremely powerful figure instantly descended. Demonic chi overflowed into the sky. Tian Duo. This expert came from the devil world. His eyes were green and appeared somewhat cold and flirtatious. He looked at Su Yu and said in a low voice, "Why are you auctioning it?" "Demon King Lad has already sent a message, asking you to return to the devil world." Devo. Su Yu recognized this fellow. He was the one who had fought with the dragon race the last time, and the one who had sent him a voice transmission. At this moment, Devo was very angry. Of course, he was also very depressed. Tendo actually wanted to sell this thing, and he hadn't communicated with them. Su Yu slightly frowned and said indifferently, "What I'm auctioning is something I obtained myself. Lord Devo, this is my own opportunity." Devo was a little angry. He looked around and saw that the door was open. He wanted to enter the room to talk to Su Yu, but Su Yu blocked the door and was ready to close the door at any time. Devo was speechless. He could only send a voice transmission and berate, "Do you understand the preciousness of the ancient breathing technique? Do you understand how important this ancient remains is? Whether you sell it to the demon world or offer it to Demon King Lad, you will not be mistreated. Tendo, do you have to make the demon race dislike you?" Su Yu's eyes turned cold and his long hair danced in the wind. He also transmitted his voice, "Lord Devo, so what if I don't mistreat you? If I want to catch up to Madhwa, will you provide me with enough resources and opportunities? So what if the demon race despises me?" Su Yu said coldly, "As long as my strength increases and I become the next Madhwa, my ancestors, the demon race, will not mind letting go of this disgust and continue to accept me. Lord Devo, am I right?" Devo was speechless. "You still want to catch up to Madhwa Na?" He knew that the younger generation of the demon race all had this ambition, but, was there really any hope? Devo transmitted his voice again, "This thing is very important to the demon race. Tendo, name a price. As long as it's reasonable, the demon race will buy it. This is better than selling it to other races." Su Yu was silent for a moment before quickly transmitting his voice, 1,000 wisps of heaven and earth mystic light, 500 drops of sun and moon mystic yellow liquid, 9 kinds of Yuan Qi foundation treasures. Devo's expression changed again and again. "Are you crazy? You aren't thinking of recasting your body and re-evolving your Yuan Qi, are you?" The things Su Yu wanted were very important to recasting the body and 9 Yuan Qi transformations, but they were not of much help when entering the mountains and seas. Of course, the sun and moon mystic yellow liquid was very helpful in strengthening the acupuncture points of the sun and moon. There was too much. It was truly asking for too much. Su Yu transmitted his voice, "And this is the friendship price that I gave you as a fellow demon. If Lord Devo can't even satisfy this, then I have no choice but to sell it to other races that can afford this price." Devo cursed in his heart and quickly transmitted his voice, "Someone from your lad family will come very soon. Tendo, I know that I can't persuade you, but someone from your lad family will come. If you still insist on doing things your own way, think about it yourself. Your own family sent someone, and you still want to sell it?" Su Yu ignored him and quickly opened his mouth. In a clear voice, he said, "The transaction will be based on the heaven and earth mystic light, the sun and moon mystic yellow liquid, the 9 transformations foundation treasure, and other items. In addition, the demons can participate in the auction by 10% less than other races. This is the concession I made for the demons. If the demons can't take out the items I need, then all the races can buy them." Devo wanted to say something but stopped. He sighed and was speechless. Since Tendo had said so, what else could he say if the demons bought 10% less? To these geniuses, in order to strengthen themselves, they had betrayed their races before. If they were really desperate, what could Tendo do even if he didn't give it to the demons? He could understand Tendo's thoughts. He was being suppressed by Madhwa and desperately wanted to surpass Madhwa. Each of these geniuses had their own opportunities. Madana had cast his body more than 36 times. He had opened his mind more than 100 times. During the 9 transformations, he might have reached the ultimate 9 transformations. Even if they were of the same race and had the same technique, Madana was still stronger than everyone else. This was the difference between geniuses. Tendo had cast his body less than 36 times. During the 9 transformations, he might not have reached the ultimate 9 transformations. This was very normal. Devo did not know too much about these geniuses. Tendo may want to get enough good stuff to rebuild his body. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1831. 1831 Chapter 410 Sanctuary 2. No one knew about this. Not only that, Suyu said coldly, just in case, in order to prevent people from talking too much and disturbing the auction, anyone who wants to participate in the auction will need a ticket fee. In the city, someone asked, fee? How much? Suyu said coldly, it's free. Anyone who wants to participate will be sent an imprisoned Shanghai realm expert. If someone wants to snatch it, then I will kill that imprisoned mountain and sea realm expert and perish together with him. Of course, everyone follows the rules. Naturally, nothing will happen. Tendo. Without waiting for anyone to refute, Suyu said coldly, shut up. Those who don't want to participate, scram. I need protection. I don't need the so-called rules and the reputation of my race. In the battlefield of the heavens, even my own race can kill each other, let alone other races. At that time, I will hold the auction in 2 rooms. The sealed mountains and seas will enter my room, and the others will participate in the auction in the other room. Once the transaction is completed, it will be best for us to hand over the goods smoothly. If anyone tries to trick me, then don't blame me for dying together with you. Silence. Someone was helpless. How ruthless. This fellow was quite ruthless. This meant that if anything went wrong, he would kill all the mountains and seas, which would attract a large number of mountains and seas, and even the sun and moon spirits. If it was the same as heaven-destroying ancient city, once the sun and moon spirits were drawn out, the city would be sealed, it would be another massacre. The mountains and seas would be the tickets. This price was extremely shocking. There were many people who said in an ethereal voice, the mountains and seas of the same race, or the random mountains and seas as the tickets. Suyu said calmly, random. When killing, I don't care if it's your race or not. If nothing goes wrong, I won't be stupid and take the initiative to kill and cause chaos in the ancient city. At this moment, a domineering voice sounded, Tian Duo, in the city, you collect the ticket fee, I collect the venue fee. 30% of the auction proceeds will belong to me. The next moment, a figure silently appeared on the roof of a building. He was wearing a black robe and was extremely domineering. He was asking for 30% of the proceeds. The dark demon dragon was the city lord of this place. Soon, a group of guards swarmed over from all directions on the street. All of them had an extremely dense aura of death. Some people cursed in their hearts that this guy was here to meddle again. Suyu frowned slightly, City Lord, is 30% too much? Too much. The dark demon dragon said coldly, if it's too much, then don't auction it in the ancient city of Hongqing. Since you're Demon King Lad's descendant, otherwise, you won't be able to leave this city. Suyu cursed in his heart. He didn't dare to be too intense, afraid that he would be sensed. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, all right, but City Lord needs to provide me with a large amount of heaven yuan qi. I need to stay in the city for a long time. At this moment, there's no more heaven yuan qi. Once I get the item, I won't leave the city. I'll find an ancient house and go into seclusion to cultivate. I'm afraid that I won't be able to leave the ancient city of Hongxing. If City Lord agrees and protects me in the future, 30% will be 30%. The City Lord of the tenebrous demonic dragon race laughed and said, then it's settled. With that said, a storage ring flew over. Su Yu did not dare to receive it. He controlled the ring with his willpower from afar and stopped. Don't mess around. Don't think that I don't know that this thing harbored evil intentions. Even the Calamity Divine script was jumping. Su Yu quickly checked and found that there was some heavenly yuan qi trapped inside. It was a very violent type. It was different from the heavenly yuan fruit. It was naturally formed heavenly yuan qi. Most of the others used it as well. As for the heavenly yuan fruit's yuan qi, it was much gentler and easier to absorb. Su Yu checked and found that it was stingy. It was probably less than 20 portions. His heavenly yuan qi was almost completely exhausted. It did not matter. He still had blood essence. He could refine it later. He had to stabilize the City Lord first. As for the Darkness Fiend Dragon, it was probably not afraid that Su Yu would renege on his promise. In the city, where could Su Yu run to? After the auction was over, Su Yu had already said that he did not dare to leave and would stay here for a long time. This was normal. If he went out, wouldn't he be afraid of being robbed? Since that was the case, he still needed to rely on the ancient city. Naturally, he had to pay the price. As for stealing the corpse, the Dark Demon Dragon was not interested. The main reason was that it would be difficult to keep it. Now that all the major races were watching, he was not invincible. Even if he was in the city, he had the hope of fighting against the invincible with the help of the undead. However, with the help of the dead souls, he was just a puppet. There was no need to make enemies with the races for things that he did not need. In the city, Su Yu was making conditions for all parties. The news spread quickly. What Su Yu wanted, how to auction it, and what the ticket was, all of this was quickly spread. On the way from 9-Star City to ancient city of Xinghong, Zhu Guang cursed in his heart. He quickly said, Aning, go catch a mountain and see. This guy has so many requirements just to sell something. Aning hurriedly said, Your Highness, are we going to participate in the auction? Could they afford it? Did they have heaven and earth mystic light? Did they have sun and moon mystic yellow liquid? Even if they did they have that much? Don't joke around. The human race was very poor. Their accumulation was too short. As for the ruins, they had excavated a lot. The key was that all the items used to excavate the ruins had been used. Otherwise, the human race would not have so many experts. Although the Daming Mansion had money, they only had ordinary resources. These strategic treasures were very rare in the Daming Mansion. Zhu Guangshan said helplessly, no matter what, we have to take a look. It really can't be done, then we have to create trouble and not give the other races the chance to get their hands on it. Ancient breathing technique, an invincible ancient corpse. I've actually heard of this ancient breathing technique a few times before. It ignores races and talents. The main function of the breathing technique is to strengthen one's talent, physical body, and even willpower. Originally, you were only suitable for 9 casting. If you cultivate the breathing technique, you might be able to cultivate to 18 casting. This is a supreme cultivation technique that develops one's potential in the ancient times. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1832. 1832 Chapter 410 Sanctuary 3. Casting a body was not something that could be casually cast. Just like enlightenment was not something that could be casually cast. Many people had a limit and a limit. Of course, Su Yu had never experienced it before, so he was a genius. Most geniuses were called geniuses because they had something extraordinary about them. Otherwise, how many of the invincible descendants lacked resources? Cultivation still depended on talent. Zhu Guangshan had indeed heard people mention this ancient breathing technique before. Soon, he said, I don't know what kind of breathing technique this is. There are different breathing techniques. Some strengthen the internal organs, some strengthen the flesh and blood, some strengthen the willpower. Strengthening the willpower is the most precious. Actually, even Aning did not understand this. He asked curiously, Your Highness, where did you learn this from? Zhu Guang smiled deeply and said, I heard from my grandfather. My grandfather once met an expert who knew the breathing technique. Of course, he was not from the human race. He was an expert from an ancient race, and he was extremely powerful. The ancient race has an inheritance? Yes. Zhu Guang nodded deeply. It's very rare, but there are some ancient races that have it. However, they keep it a secret. The ancient race's strength is very formidable. Then, do the primitive demon clan and primitive god clan have them? These two could be considered ancient clans. Could it be that they didn't have them? They should have them, but not everyone can learn and have them. Families like the half-emperor demon clan and the half-emperor god clan might have them, but ordinary demon kings probably don't have them. This was an ancient inheritance. The other demon kings that came later probably didn't have them. Aning understood. It was indeed worth many people making a move to get this thing. It was used to increase one's potential. For example, Huang Ting's physical body was 36 casting, but that didn't mean that he had truly completed 36 casting. If he really completed 36 casting and reached the 9th level of the soaring heaven realm, then under normal circumstances, the strength of his acupuncture points could reach 11,000 or more acupuncture points. If he reached the 9th level of the soaring heaven realm, he might be able to rival some weaker mountains and seas. However, such a situation had almost never happened before. Whether it was Huang Tang or Qin Fang, none of these people had the battle record of soaring heavens to kill mountains and seas. It could be that they didn't have the chance, or it could be that they weren't that powerful at that time. Only after they stepped into Ling Yun's realm and their vitality mutated did they have the chance to kill mountains and seas. Similarly, these geniuses were all kept in secret. No one knew how many times they had cast their bodies. Some geniuses might not be able to continue casting after 33 times. With the breathing technique in their bodies, they might be able to strengthen their foundations and allow these people to cast their bodies more times. On the other hand, there was a high probability that Madonna had really cast his body 36 times, or even more. No one knew about this, so they could only judge it this way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so powerful. Zhu Guangshan and the others ran toward the ancient city. The experts of other races also did the same. The experts of the 9 great realms on the 9-star island also rushed over. Including the Bright Light Bird clan on the Heavenly Dawn Island, as well as a large number of experts wandering around the sea, all rushed over. Even if they couldn't participate, it was good to watch the show. Not many people had seen the invincible corpse in the morning, let alone the ancient invincible one. The news quickly spread out. It spread out beyond the sea of stars. Humans, gods, demons, immortals, all the races quickly received the news. Tian Duo of the demon race was going to be auctioned in the ancient city of Xinghong. The price was shocking. However, the items were also shocking. According to Tian Duo, there was an ancient breathing technique in ancient divine text. At this moment, in the ancient city of heaven's destruction, which had only calmed down for a few days, people continued to take refuge. There were also people discussing this matter. At the back of the city lord's main hall, the stone statue was as quiet as ever. He closed his eyes and petrified. Of course, everything was under his control. There was nothing that could be hidden from him in this city. At this moment, when the stone statue heard this news, he suddenly thought of something. A certain person seemed to have learned the basics of the ancient breathing technique from him. When he heard about the ancient city, the breathing technique, and the ancient invincible corpse, He couldn't help but think of that fellow with an incomparably powerful ability to stir up trouble. Breathing technique, the invincible ancient corpse. Where did the invincible ancient corpse come from? The stone sculpture was speechless. The invincible ancient didn't have a corpse, so don't think too much about it. The ancient breathing technique wasn't rare, but it wasn't common either. Not everyone knew it, and it wasn't possible for a random ancient expert to know it. Most of them knew it, and most of them were invincible during the ancient times. For example, himself. I don't even know the breathing technique. The stone sculpture sank into deep thought. He heard a few familiar terms and felt that it was somewhat strange. It couldn't be Tendo. He also knew about the demon who almost died in the ancient city last time. He could pick up an ancient corpse. Sacred city of Xinghong. He was familiar with Xinghong. Of course, it was something that happened many years ago. It was so long ago that it was almost forgotten. Could it be that something was going to happen on the other side this time? The stone sculpture thought to himself. Suddenly, he felt a sense of schadenfreude. If something happened, so be it. If it happened on my side, it would be even better if it happened on your side. This made it seem like it wasn't my side that was in a mess. It wasn't that I was incompetent, but that someone was too capable of causing trouble. No one knew what the stone sculptures were thinking. These stone sculptures of the ancient cities almost never communicated with anyone. Even some of the puppet city lords didn't know that these stone sculptures were alive. There were some who knew about invincibility, but the ancient city didn't welcome invincibility. Thus, there weren't many who could communicate with these stone sculptures. More and more experts rushed to the ancient city, and a large number of geniuses were also rushing there. As for Su Yu, he had been hiding in the ancient house the whole time and directly closed the door. No matter how the people outside shouted, they ignored them.